Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you. We are ready for the Pledge of Allegiance with the Maurice J. McDonough Army JROTC. Good afternoon.
Afternoon. Good. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Xavier Winford of Maurice J. McDonough High School's Army Junior ROTC unit. Please rise for the presentation of the colors and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Following, we will have a moment of silence in honor of our troops stationed in Iraq, Afghanistan, and embassies around the world. I am honored to introduce the members of the Color Guard detail representing McDonough High School. Right Guard, Cadet Second Lieutenant Kayla Sawyers. U.S. Flag, Cadet Command Sergeant Major, Lucas Taylor. State Flag, Cadet Second Lieutenant Candace Neeb. County Flag, Cadet Second Lieutenant Anthony Bartolomeo. Left Guard, Cadet Staff Sergeant Austin Myhart. Instructor, Major Maharig.
Right turn, march. Guard, halt, post. Recover, present, arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Left turn, march. Order, march.
Thank you, cadets. Dr. Hill?
Good afternoon. Today you will receive updates about the Career and Technology Education, or CTE, programs in Charles County Public Schools, the roles of school counselors and school psychologists, our literacy grant, and our most recent financial audit. Charles County Public Schools has always been a leader in career and technology education. Today's presentation by the CTE team outlines the numerous career education options available throughout the school system, as well as changes to the application process this school year. The report will also highlight how we are working to make career and technology education more accessible to all of our students. Members of the Student Services team will update the board on the evolving roles of school counselors and psychologists, the Mediation Center through the College of Southern Maryland, community conferencing, bullying, and next steps in the delivery of services. This year, we retrained and re-screened all of our substitute teachers. We are closely monitoring our substitute pool to determine how well our current model is meeting school needs. we have considered the possibility of outsourcing through a third-party vendor, but at this time, we have decided to stay with our current model. We will continue to consider all of our options as we begin the budget planning process for fiscal year 2020. The Human Resources Office has reviewed the Teacher of the Year format. Board members suggested that we expand the recognition of teachers who are nominated and selected for State Teacher of the Year and the Washington Post Teacher of the Year awards. We have many excellent teachers, and this year we will encourage every school to nominate one of their top teachers. We're planning to celebrate all of the nominees at a reception in January, similar to the one the board held honoring our volunteers. Later today, Mrs. Holstein and her team will update you on the $2.7 million literacy grant that CCPS has received. We are excited to share with you and with the public how we are using this funding to enhance reading instruction. The team will also talk about how the grant is focusing our attention on third grade readers and helping teachers more effectively screen children for reading problems. A grading policy survey about a proposed change to the scale used to determine an F is posted on the ccboe.com website and closes on Monday, October 15th. There have already been over 1,000 responses as of yesterday, and we encourage parents, students, and staff to take the survey or to participate with us in a work session on October 22nd. The town hall portion of that work session will begin at 6 p.m. with a short presentation about the options that are being considered, followed by time for people to ask questions, make suggestions, or share their opinions with the board about the proposal. The board work session will begin at 7 p.m. The 21st Annual Charles County College Fair was a huge success with more than 1,800 students attending during the day and about 1,000 people attending the evening session, which included 2 financial aid presentations. Each of our high schools have college financial aid nights for students and parents throughout the month of October. This year, 115 colleges were represented at the college fair, and 9 historically black colleges and universities were represented to provide information to our students. This month, schools are welcoming students with free breakfast. The purpose of the free breakfast is to encourage students to develop healthy eating habits and to offer a positive start to the school day. Our program is being highlighted by Kelly Lynn, the education reporter at WJLA TV Channel 7, and it should be on television tomorrow at about 5:15 if you have the opportunity to take a look. 2 weeks ago, students were able to sample fresh produce with their lunches during Maryland Homegrown School Lunch Week. This week was a great way to encourage students to try new foods. I will be engaging with students through student advisory councils again this school year. We will begin with elementary and high school advisory councils this month and a middle school advisory council in November. I'm also meeting with classroom teachers at each level to learn about their successes, their challenges, and their ideas to keep Charles County Public Schools a great place for teaching and learning. Before closing, I would like to address misconceptions recently aired during a Fox 5 report on Charles County Public Schools absentee rates. The report did not tell the whole story about what we are doing in Charles County Public Schools in regards to student attendance and graduation. The report failed to point out that Charles County Public Schools attendance rates are above the state average at the elementary level, above the state average at the middle school level, and above the state average at the high school level. It also failed to recognize that last spring, we initiated an outside audit to review our attendance regulations, our record-keeping procedures, grades, and graduation rates to ensure that our programs for students with high absenteeism were instructionally sound and rigorous. Finally, and most importantly, The report failed to recognize the extraordinary efforts of teachers, school counselors, and other staff at the school and district level to get students in class and caught up instructionally. All of this information was provided to the reporter by our staff, but not shared in the story that was aired on television. I know many people believe we should have hard and fast rules that fail or write off children who fall behind due to absences or other reasons, but I don't. I didn't commit my career to public education to watch children fail. Our job as educators is to support every child's effort to learn and complete school, and we will continue to do that in a rigorous and credible way. I look forward to hearing from our independent auditors when they issue their report, and I assure you and the public that if there are areas that need to be improved, that we will do so. Mrs. Holstein said in her interview that she is proud of what we do to help children succeed, and I agree. Our responsibility is to educate all children, despite the challenges they may bring with them to school every day, and we will continue to do so with high standards and with fidelity. As always, thank you for your support of public education in Charles County Public Schools.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. We now have correspondence from board members. Zabel?
Lots of wonderful things happening. I had a great time at the Rocktoberfest on Saturday. Thank you to the La Plata Business Association and Island Music. And of course, the funds raised there will be coming back to the arts program here in the school system. September 25th, we had the new teacher reception down at Middleton Hall, and Chef Kendall again provided us with some delicious food. September 18th, I attended the CCAC meeting. And for those of you that might be looking for extra help with IEPs, I encourage you to please visit their website, especially if you cannot make the meetings. The website is Charles County CCAC, that's SECAC.com. There's a new little tab that I found on their website called IEP Binder, and it has tips on organizing and a checklist, and it's just a great resource for anyone that's trying to navigate the IEP process. We just got back from the MABE conference this week, and I had a great time at that and had a lot of wonderful sessions at that event. And then last but not least, October is Dyslexia Awareness Month, and if you've ever wondered what it felt like to have dyslexia, there's a simulation that's taking place. Unfortunately, it's not in county, but it's on October 21st from 2 to 5 at the Crofton Library. And I hope that maybe one day we can get the same kind of simulation here in the county, so it's not as far to travel. Thank you.
Mr. Lucas.
Thank you, Ms. Palco. As Ms. Abel said, a lot of great things going on. The college fair was mentioned by the superintendent, and there was a great turnout. And I encourage everyone, I'm not sure of the dates, but I believe some high schools still have some evening events to highlight how to apply for scholarships. So if you can make one of those, I think even if it's not your high school, you could probably still go to another one and it would be okay. I see Ms. Holstein smiling, saying yes, that's okay. So please check out those dates. I think they're on their website. New teacher dinner, again, there were people there that were new teachers that were my age, and they were new teachers. So it is never too late to start a career or second career. An absolutely true statement. And you know, you think that it's a bunch of 20-somethings, but there's more than just people coming out of school there. So it was great to see that. I'd like to give a shout out to all the people that organize, or first of all, the students that participate in sports, because I love going to all the sporting events. If I've got smathathletics.org on my phone, and I look, and if I'm driving by a high school and there's something going on, I go there. But We had a couple problems with a couple of fields lately at McDonough and Westlake, and they're having to negotiate trying to move those games around, and that's not an easy task. So hats off to staff for doing that. That's a lot of work that you didn't plan for, but you still got to do. So thank you very much for that. And again, the MABE conference, a few of us went, and I'll let other board members talk about that. And finally, again, Oktoberfest. It was a great time. And have here, if you were there, you could have got your peacock feather. Hashtag flipping eyelids. Go look that up. Okay, they're all Charles County students that play in a band. But it was a great time, and that money goes a long way. It pays for stuff you don't think about, like having to buy sheet music and things like that for the kids so they can do their performances throughout the year. So I want to thank everyone that was involved with that. Thank you.
Mrs. Kelly?
As a member of the conference planning committee for MABE, I'd like to thank the board members who were able to join us at our annual conference last week, and I hope you walked away with useful professional development in your roles as board members. If you have feedback you'd like me to share with the conference planning committee for next year, please send it to me by November 7th as we meet again for our postmortem on November 8th. I'd also like to thank the LaPlata Business Association also for, as well as the sponsors, bands, vendors, and attendees who joined us for Oktoberfest this past Saturday. Proceeds go to support fine and performing arts in Charles County Public Schools, and I'd like to thank the community's support for this endeavor. Thank you to the LaPlata Marching Band and the North Point Jazz Band for their performances. They were a nice reminder of why we were there on Saturday. I manned the selfie station, which people really seem to enjoy, and there are some really great photos at hashtag RockLP4Good if you'd like to take a look. Speaking of hashtags, I'd like to remind everyone to keep using our school system hashtag #ChooseKind to share and practice our message. I'd also like to remind parents to monitor their children's online social media accounts and or devices to keep our children safe online. And just a reminder to be sure to sign up to be a volunteer if you haven't already on the CCBOE webpage. The deadline is this week. Is it the 10th or the 12th? I've heard one of those dates. Do you remember? The 12th. Okay, so by Friday, October 12th, please try to get that done if you plan on volunteering this year. Thank you very much.
Mr. Crawford?
Thank you, Ms. Palco. A couple thanks. I want to put forth also to the superintendent. Thank you for explaining the report there on the Fox 5. I would much rather hear from the parents who have an investment in our system, who like our system, than a reporter who might think that just because you put it on TV means it's true. So I appreciate that. Also, I read a book over the past month where they came together, they built something, they had a mind to work, and they each took their part and did their best and played their part in what they were building. And I honestly thought of everybody that goes into the system, and I really appreciate, I have a new appreciation for everyone from the food service workers to people who mow the grass, which has been very hard this past month, I think, to the snow removal, to plumbers and teachers and instructional assistants. We just need all of them. So all the way up to the people in this office, in this building, who do their part, and the people over there, and the superintendent who lead. So I just want people not to get discouraged at the beginning of the school year, and especially in election year when people always try to say things or do things. But I really would like them to know that they are appreciated, and it's not. There's a lot of positive that goes on into educating 26,000 students. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to begin by saying thank you for the opportunity to attend the MABE conference. It's always very informative for me, and I always enjoy the networking that takes place, and this year was no exception. One of the things that happened during the conference that I hope that we're all aware of, and my fellow board members will take into account, is the looking through the equity lens that was rolled out at the conference this year. We worked on this, the Equity Committee worked on this for over a year, and I think it has a lot of positive thoughts about making sure that we're looking through a lens of equity when we talk about our students. I also want to thank Principal Brenda Tillotson and her staff for the warm hospitality that was shown during my visit during the Homegrown Lunch Week. I really enjoyed interacting with the students. Middle school students are a different breed, and they're always entertaining and interesting when you talk with them. So I enjoyed my visit there, as well as visiting with the cafeteria staff. They did an excellent job that day. They were all dressed as farmers that I was there, and the lunch that they prepared was delicious, so thank you for that. I also was able to attend several community events this month, I think that were very informative. I was also at the CCAC meeting, and I'm always very pleased when I see the positive working relationship between our special ed department and our parents. It's a very supportive atmosphere, and thank you for the information that's always shared, because I always learn something at those meetings as well. I also attended the Innocence Lost presentation at Craig Elementary School. This was my third time, and each time I hear a little bit more, although I didn't stay for the entire presentation. I did learn some things that I didn't learn the first time. And the second one was the Student Safety and Stop Bullying presentation at the Waldorf West Library. Both of these presentations emphasize the need to be extremely vigilant with our children and emphasize the need to be sure that our students feel comfortable to follow the See Something, Say Something program that we have. I'm really very pleased to see the attempts that our system is making to encourage the community to come out and be part of these presentations, because the more knowledge that we have, the more safer our students will be. So if parents have not attended, please be vigilant and look at what is being offered so that you can stay abreast of what we are offering for your students. That's about it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. McGraw. I have a few things I'd like to share as well. I won't repeat what some of my other colleagues have mentioned. I also attended the CCAC meeting and the college fair, but I would like to mention a few other things. Farm to School Week, this was the second year I participated having lunch. This year I had lunch at Malcolm and Higdon Elementary Schools. The food was delicious. I mean, I cleaned my whole plate. Twice.
On the same day?
No. It was a pleasure to meet the Food and Nutrition Services staff at each of the school and to spend time talking with the students. I was talking so much I was afraid I wasn't going to finish my meal. I can understand why students do not finish their meal. A half hour goes very quickly when you're sitting there talking with the students. So I would like to thank the food services for giving us this invitation and for making the arrangements at both of the elementary schools so that I could have lunch with the students. I will mention the new teacher reception because I would like to congratulate the HR staff. The reception was well organized, it was welcoming, and the diversity represented amongst our new teachers and the positive responses that I heard from their first weeks at school was all sunshine, worth sharing during that event. So a job well done. Congratulations, HR. Innocence Stolen, I also attended that at Craig. It was also my third time, although I did not stay the whole time. And thank you to Charmaine Thompson and Craig Elementary School for initiating the Internet Safety Program. I know it came here through EACC first, and it is making its rounds. So if you hear that advertised, please take advantage of seeing that presentation. It is well worth your time. I also attended the Kerwin Commission ad hoc meeting at MABE, Maryland Association of Boards of Education. And as part of the Kerwin Commission ad hoc committee, they have put together a position paper on the 5 major policy areas. And just as a reminder, they are early childhood education, high-quality teachers and leaders, college and career readiness pathways, which include CTE, resources for at-risk students, and governance and accountability. I did ask Ms. Stubblefield to post the position paper for you to review. It should be on board docs. I did also attend the LAC, the Local Advisory Council meeting for CTE. The LAC oversees CTE as a whole, not just each individual program. I was updated on the new world of CTE, initiatives from the state, and how Charles County is moving forward with accessibility for all our students. I think you will enjoy the presentation this afternoon. And last but not least, I did also attend the MABE conference. I'm thankful for the opportunity. I heard sessions on equity, social emotional initiatives, and it was a pleasure to hear our state superintendent, Dr. Salmon. She shared the state initiatives, and everything is based on because opportunity belongs to everyone. So, thank you all very much. And I think we're up for EACC.
Good afternoon. My name is Linda McLaughlin, and I am the president of the Education Association of Charles County. EACC was represented by 4 members at the United Way's Mystery Masquerade Dinner on September 14th. The United Way is a community partner that continues to support our educators and our students with their programs. The EACC is represented by Kathy Ramey, EACC Vice President on the United Way Board, and we are pleased to support their events. EACC is excited to announce that we have 19 additional newly certified reps. These are outstanding volunteer advocates who help their EACC member colleagues in the buildings. We also have an extremely active early career educator team chaired by Melissa Carpenter from Wade Elementary School and Chelsea Herrig-Payne from Berry Elementary School. Our EACC early career educator team was asked to present their organizational plan and strategies at MSCA's Summer Leadership Conference in July, and again at the MSCA's Early Career Educator Conference in September. They have monthly events already scheduled through May, which are a combination of networking and professional development. September's monthly meetup, or M&M as we call them, was focused on organizational strategies for the classroom and knowing their contract rights. Tonight's M&M, which will be at Wade Elementary School from 5 to 7 p.m., is entitled Scary Stuff, Evaluations and Student Learning Objectives. Leslie Schreck, EACC Treasurer and Resource Teacher at La Plata High School, will be covering SLOs and giving a brief tutorial on InsistTech. We already have 26 new teachers who have RSVP'd for this session. We continue to reach out to educators at all points in their career to build capacity within our organization, and we are thrilled that we have such an increased level of involvement from our early career educators. The annual MSCA Representative Assembly and Convention is Friday and Saturday, October 19th and 20th in Ocean City, Maryland. There will be 30 free professional development workshops for members and non-members on Friday and Saturday mornings to attend. Our 36 delegates will be hard at work conducting the business of the association. Please feel free to attend as guests. November 6th, General Election Day, is 28 short days away. EACC continues to promote our education-friendly candidates, as well as educating the public why is it important to vote yes on the Fix the Fund constitutional amendment, question 1, that will appear at the bottom of the ballot. Question 1 is a ballot referendum to support public schools, and it has bipartisan support from 80% of Marylanders. That breaks down even more significantly into 87% of Democrats, 81% of independents, and 68% of Republicans. We as Marylanders have a chance to send a very strong message in support of education funding to our state government on November 6th. As I mentioned last month, Charles County would stand to get an additional $39.3 million phased in over 4 years. A yes vote for question 1 would mean that the state constitution would be amended to specifically require that the casino revenue monies and the education trust fund must go to increasing the pre-existing level of funding in public schools. More information can be found on the website www.voteyesonone.org. We are looking forward to beginning the negotiation season later this fall and working with joint study committees on extra pay for extra duty, junior ROTC salary, and Unit 2 salary that were agreed upon in last year's negotiations. EACC has begun creating our teams with members for the joint study committees, and we look forward to starting the negotiations processes. I have been hearing a great deal of feedback from my members as well as members of the community at large about the new CCPS proposed grading policy change. I have been suggesting that they fill out the survey that is available to them so that their voices are heard. And I look forward to the town hall before the board's work session on October 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McLaughlin. Mr. Grote.
Good afternoon. As Election Day is approaching, I want to encourage everyone watching or listening to please vote. Teacher unions, along with state and local government unions, have far passed private sector unions in membership numbers and therefore have become some of the most influential voices on Capitol Hill. Therefore, our unions have influence over our public school systems and how they operate. This is why it is so important to retain members and recruit new members so politicians will continue to listen to our concerns. We lobby politicians from both sides of the aisle and independents to find those that will assist us with maintaining outstanding public school systems just like ours here in Charles County. Nevertheless, our efforts on Capitol Hill are in vain if we, the citizens, do not get out and vote. Therefore, there are many fine candidates running Find ones that you believe in, that believe in your concerns and values. Check them out, do your own vetting, and please don't just vote based on a social media post, television ad, or political affiliation. Your vote is extremely important. Choose wisely. ASME Local 2981 represents all non-certificated support staff regardless of their political beliefs, and we welcome every one of our support staff employees to join us. On November 7th at 4:30 p.m., we will hold an open meeting, and we hope to be able to utilize the staff development room at the Starkey Building for this event. However, should that change, we will make notification. For those who have been asking why join or what your union does for you, this is the first time we will open a meeting for non-dues paying members in the hopes of clarifying any questions staff may have. We really need your support to be able to support you. We hope to see you there on November 7th. ASME Local 2981 will also be holding our yearly Christmas party on Saturday, December 1st at 6 p.m. at the FOP Lodge located on Rosewick Road. Administration and board members are invited to attend as our guests. Wear your ugly sweater and be jolly. And remember, to spread sunshine and always choose kind. John Grote.
Thank you, Mr. Grote. Appreciate the sunshine comment. Okay, Ms. Patel.
Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings, board members, Chairman Palco, Superintendent Dr. Hill, respected staff, students, and guests. With interims coming out today marks the midpoint of first quarter. This month has truly gone by extremely quickly. I hope that all students are getting comfortable in their classes and succeeding at what they put their mind to. The FAFSA application is now open, and I urge all seniors to fill it out as soon as possible, as it is a financial aid for college. Also remember that November 1st is the prominent deadline for early applications. Take this opportunity if you have your mind set on a school or want to make a decision early. Good luck. October marks the 3rd annual free breakfast month. Many argue that breakfast is the most important meal of the day and essential to one's health. Therefore, I strongly urge all students to take this opportunity and before taking on the classes of the day. This past Friday, CCAC held its first General Assembly, and it was truly a success. Officers shared reports on what they've been working on since elections, while delegates engaged in discussions regarding the grading policy, school safety, and participation. Delegates also took the time to fill out the survey on ccboe.com. It was really amazing to see how discussions varied between the middle and high school groups. There was a lot of new insight offered, and I cannot wait to share that with you once it has all been compiled. Lastly, I want to encourage all my peers to continue working hard and engage in activities they love. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hey, Ms. Holstein, we're ready for CTE.
Yes. Carrie, can you pull the PowerPoint up? Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Here with our CTE team, and we have some exciting news to share today. We're going to do an overview of all of our CTE programs and also share our new application process that will be put into effect next year. We have a lot of information to share, so I just want to open by publicly giving this exciting news that I don't think anyone knows yet, but we just recently found out that we've been awarded another about $150,000 grant that we will be opening a new CTE program at McDonough High School. So Tracy, Ms. Chapelier will be sharing that, but we're very, very excited about this new pathway. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Chapelier.
Thank you. So we are very excited to be here. I'm Tracy Chapelier. I'm the coordinator for Career and Technology Education.
I'm Becky Pearson, CTE Content Specialist.
I'm Carrie Akins, Instructional Specialist for CTE.
So again, we do have some really exciting information to share, but I'm going to get to that later. You know, this is just an overview and an opportunity for us to share with you everything that we do in CTE, not in just regards to Charles County Public Schools, but how we're held accountable at a state and a federal level. We want to really talk about also of how CTE has taken the national stage and where we fit into that. as our group, and ultimately what we're doing to maintain the integrity and the fidelity of all the programs that we offer in Charles County Public Schools. I'm just going to start off by saying, really exciting stuff is that, we're in our second year of full implementation of Project Lead the Way launch in all of K1 and 2. So full implementation of computer science and engineering. We spent the last 2 years really training every single kindergarten first and second grade teacher in computer science and engineering. Additionally, every elementary school has 42 lead launch teachers. This is an incredible feat, and what we're trying to do is really create that CTE, Career and Technology Education pipeline from K through 12. The programs that we offer in elementary ultimately span into our middle schools, and through GTT, we spent the past couple years making sure that the modules that teachers are teaching directly align to a pathway option that they would have in high school, and then ultimately beyond that. When we speak about our middle schools, Charles County Public Schools has taken the national stage with computer science, but at a middle school level, I am really proud of the work that our teachers have done to promote middle school computer science, true computer science pathway. We've taken a computer skills course and really in the process of switching it over to computer science in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Looking over it, we have 28 high school completer programs, and this is at our secondary level. So this is a 3, 4, or 5 course sequence that students will take to ultimately leads to a graduation completer pathway. Oh no, go back one. Go back. There you go. There are 10 career clusters that are stated through MSDE, and we represent 9. And so this is where we're really excited to announce the CT Innovation Grant was offered. It just came out this summer, and it was grants from $25,000 all the way up to $150,000. So we went in for it, and we won. Well, actually, we were awarded about $150,000 to implement the CASE curriculum for Agricultural and Science Education Natural Resources Pathway at McDonough High School. So this is a 1-year grant period, and what we are going to do is spend feverishly to get all 4 courses outfitted to be implemented next year. If you take a look, we have 10 4-year programs, 12 3-year programs, and then 6 2-year programs. The idea here is that we really wanted versatility in our programs. We wanted opportunities for students in 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th, and 11th grade to be able to have access to CTE programs at all grade levels. So to look at our CTE data for 2017 and 18, the number 3,824 students sat in a CTE course. Now, I have about 5 different reports that I have to turn into MSD in regards to enrollment, completers, dual completers, and this is a really great number. Last year, we had 1,965 seniors graduate from all 7 high schools, and 847, 52%, were a CTE completer. So that means that they chose a CTE pathway as a means to graduation. We want to go off of Dr. Hill's goal of increasing student enrollment in CTE, so we really are have so many efforts in place to make sure that that number grows. About 67% of CTE completers were dual completers, meaning that they, in addition to completing the CTE pathway, also maybe they did world language or they were a advanced tech ed graduation. The More Jobs for Marylanders Act. This is a really great number when you look across the state at where other counties or districts are sitting. So we're at a 42%, and through our Perkins grant, I have to write an action plan every year of how I'm going to achieve a goal of 45% by the year 2020. Some things that we have done, we're looking at it through a 4-course sequence, that last course in every single program, looking for opportunities for students to have internships or apprenticeships. So if they're not already in place, through the program of study, we're looking for local options to be able to reach that goal. So when we speak about our accountability, there's many different accountability measures, and it comes from, like I said, the federal and the state and the local level. From Maryland State Department of Education, we have a lot of CTE champions in place currently. The state superintendent was the former assistant state superintendent overseeing CTE. And through those, where she is, she's developed a lot of relationships. And Mrs. Palco, I have to give you a shout out here because you've really put us on the map with all the programs that we do have and being able to maintain them, but then also, building that relationship with the state. So that's a really important piece that you've built for us.
Thank you.
When you're adopting a program of study, we have some samples for you, but they're readily available through MSDE, and it is a very rigorous process. We look at a lot of different things. We look at all of our benchmarks that we have to meet. We look at local workforce development needs. We look at state workforce development needs, and then we decide if that program would be beneficial to our region or even our county. Through the next one, certification and recertification of programs. When I took this position about going on 4 years ago, I made it a goal of mine to make sure that we had 100% certification for programs, 100% certification for instructors, and 100% certification for our students. Every one of our programs has a national governing body. So if we take automotive, they have the ASE certification, which is the Automotive Service Excellence, and that is the governing body for that cluster. And so we look at the program has to be certified through ASE, which is a very strenuous process. It's about every 5 years. The binder's this big, and we have to make sure that we've covered every single requirement required by them. Additionally, our teachers have to go through very lengthy, detailed certifications so that they become a master teacher within that program. If those two structures are not in place for our programs, our students are not certified. Okay. So it's a pretty big deal. Additionally, local CTE directors updates, those come out from the state quarterly, and we can readily share those as well. But this is a really great place. It's we look at professional development opportunities that are available for our teachers and students. We look at updates for programs. Every single program, the annual audits go out and updates, and this is where it's housed. And so we use this kind of as the go-to every quarter to make sure that what we're doing is in direct connection with what the state is doing. Over on the side, the yearly data collection for Carl D. Perkins, these are our benchmarks or our indicators to tell us whether or not the programs that we have, are they successful? Are we finding gaps? Are there weaknesses in things that we're doing? We're currently in Perkins 4, but we're transitioning into Perkins 5. And what we are going to do for the next 3 months, we are a part of, Charles County Public Schools CTE is a part of a group, the Maryland State Department of Education Transition Year State Planning Committee, to look, that's a lot, to look at these benchmarks and see if they're still relevant, if they're still current, if these are benchmarks that we should really be looking at to see if our students in our individual programs are successful. So for instance, 1S1, academic attainment on the PARCC English. We're going to look at that. Technical skill attainment, we're going to speak about that later because that is a really, really important part of every single program that we have. 5S1 for placement, that is employment or post-secondary second quarter after graduation. Why this one is so relevant and it's going to be a hot topic of conversation is because the data here is pulled through the Department of Labor and Licensing. So if a student graduates and 2 quarters after they are working or they are in college or in post-secondary education, they're pulled, saying that they're doing one of the two. However, the discrepancy here is that it's not connected to a program that they have taken while in CTE. So is that really a benchmark of what we're doing or student success? So we're going to look at these kinds of things and hopefully come up with a new set of benchmarks, keeping the ones that are relevant and important to us, and then also developing new ones if need be.
That's exciting.
Okay. Throughout the past couple years, we've really kept you guys on top of access and equity and CT and what we're doing in regards to making sure that we are compliant with the state regulations. So just to give a little bit of background, about 3 years ago, the Office of Civil Rights did a state audit, and they found, again, some gaps in how students have access to CTE programs. We jumped on the bandwagon and we were like, well, if this is what's going to happen, let's start now and let's start planning the planning process. So we looked at a 3-year plan to include marketing to students, parents, and the community, and we looked at the application process. Luckily, 3 years ago when we did this, we're directly in line because November 8th, we have been selected to have our own Office of Civil Rights audit, which includes interviews from central office, facilities, and then students, teachers, and counselors. This also is about 200 hours of man work to get it facilitated through our office. But we're very excited to find the outcomes, whatever they are, and then we'll be able to make an action plan moving forward with that.
So overall, with access and equity, like Tracy said, the main goals were really to make CTE a household name, make people in the community aware of what Charles County Public Schools has to offer, because it's vast. It's not just the programs at North Point. It's not just the programs at CEDM. It's programs in every single school. So as you can see here, North Point, we do have the programs that they can apply for in 8th grade. And those are 17 programs. At the comprehensive high schools or the zoned high schools, any student could enroll through those through a course selection, okay, and with help from their school counselors. And we have 7 programs that are offered in that manner. And then there's Robert T. Steedham Educational Center, which students apply for those programs in 10th grade, and we have 6 programs that are offered through there. And this is just what we need the community to know. We're working tirelessly and collecting more and more information about how to make that relevant and how to make that known. So the big thing is the marketing and how are we getting this word out. So over the last 2 years, we have made a lot of transitions, and we're excited about this year the most because we're getting there, we're getting there, we're getting there. So this year, we have been collaborating with the school counselors extensively for the last several years to make this, because it has to be a united effort. But this year, all 8th graders are going to be going to the College of Southern Maryland for a field trip, and it's going to be the CTE showcase. And what that's going to look like, it will be a presentation where we provide information on all the different CTE pathways that are available. And this isn't by location, it's by career cluster, it's by interest, and it's that specific because we want a united CTE. We want to show everything that we have to offer, spark some interest, and then we'll provide some more information to the kids to let them know processes, where they're located, and what the next steps are. So that's the first part. Then after they get the information sessions, then they get to go into a kind of style like a college fair, but it's going to be a table representative for each program. And there are going to be student representatives there doing hands-on demonstrations that are really going to paint a nice picture for our 8th graders who most likely are very visual learners and need to have a little bit more information base. So for instance, the Project Lead the Way Biomed program will have an inflatable lung there that they're inflating and deflating. So they're going to physically see that to see what that program entails. So with the collaboration with the school counselors, prior to that showcase, they're going to front load a little bit, define CTE for them, let the kids know exactly what they're going to be coming into, okay, so they're not going in completely blind and building from ground zero. After the showcase is a really intricate part. They're going to go back with the school counselors in a small group and go through an activity in which they research more, anything that sparked their interest. They're going to get more information with utilizing the website and some other resources that we provide, and they're going to build a plan. And when they build that plan is when they're going to identify, is this something I need to apply for in 8th grade because it's a program at North Point? Is this something that I need to work with my school counselor to put on my course selection sheet in my 8th grade year? Is this something that I need to follow up with in 9th grade or in 10th grade? So we're building that plan. And one of our next steps is really utilizing Synergy and putting those plans within Synergy so they follow along with these students. They're not going to be left with their 8th grade school counselor. We need them to follow along with them so that their interests are made aware and they can continue to harp on those points with those kids to make sure they're getting what they need. So during their 8th grade year, they've done this with the counselors, they've gone to the showcase, then they may go ahead and do the application. And the work that we've done on the application is, again, in line with what Tracy was speaking about. So there are some changes. There will not be for the North Point application and Steedham, because they're going to both be exactly the same application process. The interview will not be a part of the process, and teacher recommendations will not be part of the process. So students will do an online application portion, and then they will, in January, in their middle schools, do a portion of the application that's an interest survey that's specific to the different areas of interest, the programs that they selected on their application. So without the interview aspect as well, the timeline of this application is going to be beneficial, because North Point will be able to get all of the information and provide feedback to students, and we're hoping in a timeline so they'll know if they got in, if they're on wait list prior to course selection in 8th grade. With the thought being, and this is another element we're adding in, we want that note going back out to students if they did not get into a program right away to give options. So for instance, if they were interested in Academy of Health at North Point, we're going to say, hey, well, you did not get into this program at this point. Maybe you're on the wait list. Here is XYZ that is in your zoned high school. Here is this option that you could pursue when you're in 10th grade at the Robert D. Steedham Educational Center. And it just paints a bigger overall picture as far as all the options that are available for all of our students. So that's their 8th grade year. Plenty going on. Then another opportunity for the students is in 9th grade, and one thing that did open up last year was we did open up a 9th grade application for the programs at North Point if there were any open seats. Whether someone moved, they wanted to go to their zoned high school, they missed their friends, who knows what could possibly have happened, but we want those seats filled. We want to utilize those resources. So we went through that process last year, and it was really successful. We got some, they're a year older. You never know what you're going to find, and we found some great candidates that we wanted to take advantage of the under-enrolled programs. So that's 9th grade. 9th grade students can also apply for TAM, and then in 10th grade, they all get an assembly that lets them know about the options that they can start in their 11th and 12th, which includes the programs at Steedham and the application process there. It also is the Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute, CRD, and of course TAM. So that's all done for those students in all those different pockets of time. But we all know that one of the most intricate parts is the parents and the information getting to the parents, because I know, especially with my children, things are told to them that never come home to me. So we need to make sure that all of this information is getting home. So one thing that we've really worked on is making sure that we are represented at all of the high school parent nights at every middle school. And again, it's a united CT. We're showing the options, we're showing the procedures. We are letting parents know where and when and how at those. We're also sending all the information from the showcase, from the different presentations. We're sharing that electronically, and we do send home a flyer that will provide that information in multi-means. We try to represent ourselves as many places as we can. We're at the fair. We're at HITS Expo. We definitely have teachers representing different programs there as well. Open houses at North Point, open houses at Steedham. One thing that we are working toward, we want to start just sending information out through Synergy to parents. So again, build that foundational knowledge. What is CTE and what does CCPS have to offer? And finally, we're working with communications department to increase the community awareness as well. So a press release along with utilizing different resources that can reach a larger population. So Tracy did speak of this a bit, but I'm going to touch on it. This is how we keep our programs relevant, how we keep them up to date. Program advisory committees are formed for every single one of our programs. And so where we start the basis on the program of study from the Maryland State Department of Education, the PAC, the Program Advisory Committee, is what makes our programs real. It connects it to our community. It provides those industry standards. They come in and they see if the machinery that we're utilizing is what's really still being used in the field. They provide mentorships. They come in as guest speakers, field trips, everything. Okay, they make it tangible. The local advisory council is larger, and Ms. Palco and Dr. Hill were both a part of that because it's really necessary to have a full spectrum. We try to have all the different career clusters represented, secondary education and post-secondary, so CSM and other institutes are there as well. And all of that makes it as relevant as possible.
So student outcomes, why choose CTE? Well, why not? This is not our grandfather's VOTEC. And one of the best and most important things we can do is we can continue to advocate would be to get rid of that term VOTEC from people's vocabulary. This is career and technical education. And we are preparing students through rigorous fields of study, through rigorous programs in our schools for high-paying, in-demand jobs. Our students are leaving our classrooms at the end of their senior year with industry-related certifications that are the real adult certifications. These are the exact same certifications that anyone who's ever worked on your car, wired your house, done your hair, checked you in at a doctor's office, the exact same certifications that those adults hold. These are the certifications that our students are walking out the door with. They can go directly into a career, a well-paying career. They can leave, they can take that certification and go on to a 2-year technical school or trade program, or they can go on to a 4-year college degree program. All of those options are available to our students, and we're excited about that. Recently, this MSDE has provided to us a Maryland Technical Skills Assessment Guidance Manual. It's still in draft form. But we're really looking forward to that because what it has done has taken all of these TSAs, the technical skill assessments, and it has mapped them out to every one of the programs that could be offered throughout the state so that there's a full understanding of exactly what skills assessments are available to each program so we can make sure that we stay current, that our standards continue to align, that we're preparing students for the right certifications at the end of their courses. It tells us everything we need to know about what kind of accommodations a student might need, if they have an IEP or a 504, how to get those accommodations, so that we'll be able to share that with all of the people here in the district that need that information as well. Our students are leaving with transcripted credits, and we have articulation agreements with colleges and universities all over, as well as through CSM. We're really working hard to continue to strengthen our partnership with CSM. We have great partners at CSM. Rob Farinelli and Lisa Warren are awesome to work with. We talk regularly about how we can continue to just bring our two parts together. They help us to make sure that our classes through which our students can get transcripted credits continue to align. They're always helping us look for new courses that we could add, continuing to look for ways that we can increase dual enrollment opportunities and just anything to help our students continue along in their pathway. And then finally, CTE offers students specific career and technical student organizations. So, for example, Skills USA or Educators Rising or FBLA. So not only are students leaving with those certifications, but they're getting those so-called soft skills, leadership, collaboration, all of those great things that we know they're going to need. And so those CTSOs really bring together the whole picture of CTE. Remember, CTE, not VOTEC, CTE, and bring it all together for our students to be successful.
Well, you know, this is, again, it's very exciting to be able to present to all of you. However, 20 minutes, you know, when you're asked to take K through 12 career technology education and condense it into 20 minutes, it becomes very cumbersome, and especially since we're all so passionate about it. I mean, we could come to every board meeting and probably present if you needed us to or wanted us to. But on yesterday we had, I'm going to end on this note, yesterday we had our in-service, and I had an opportunity to speak to Dr. Hunter, who is our Academy Health instructor at the Robert D. Steedham Educational Center for Farm Tech. And we were just talking back and forth, and she says, 5 students last year are utilizing the Farm Tech certification. I have one student who is at Penn State this year, and she's working in a pharmacy there while she's going to Penn State. Another student is at Bowie State University, working at a pharmacy utilizing that certification that they received while going through the program at Steedham. And then additionally, there was 3 other students who are now at the College of Southern Maryland working locally in pharmacies utilizing that certification. And when you think about it, that's exactly what we want to happen. We want a student to go through a pathway, receive certifications, receive the knowledge, and then be able to go out either into the workforce or directly into college and utilize the knowledge that they've gained while attending a CTE program in CCPS. Thank you.
So you took my last thunder conclusion.
I did. You should have prepped me.
Being that if you have such a vibrant program as we have, you have to have passionate leaders. And I have to say publicly that these 3 are just leading not only the county efforts, but the state efforts. And we are a leader in the state, and I think in the country. And I just want to congratulate you all because you do a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And the only other thing I wanted to clarify, when we talk about the application that we will be implementing next year, that will be a random selection. Okay, just make sure that the public understands that. It's a lottery, basically, as Dr. Hill said.
Any questions? Ms. Kelly?
Thank you very much for the presentation. Having just gone through this process with my new 9th grader, there was a lot of information. Ms. Pearson, you helped me out with that last year when we were at Summers. I had 2 questions. One was, at the CSM showcase that you're planning on doing, will students also be provided not just what the program is about, but what career options they have, what the salaries would look like, and what additional training or education they would need for that in order for them to make a well-informed decision?
Yeah, so again, information overload too, so we have to keep that in mind. But what we are doing is changing the presentation in a way that it is putting some of those targets on there that would be sparking interest and showing that. So we definitely want to be looking at salaries and career options. We're talking about the certifications and the necessary training being more for maybe parent nights at this point, just because of information basis and who would really hold on to the information at that point. So that's kind of what we were thinking as far as the 8th graders.
Okay, thanks. And then my second question was, where is the list of transcripted credits and articulation agreements? Where can we find that on the website? Because like personally, when I had to do my 9th graders freshman courses, we had to do a 4-year plan because he wants to do a PLTW program, but then he also wants to do one of these new completer courses. Plus he was taking PE over the summer. It was like a big spider web. So where can we get all that information for the parents to look at?
So each of the web pages that for each program has the transcripted and articulated agreements listed on there individually.
Okay, so you have to go within the program.
Yeah.
So if you're a parent that's not sending a kid through a CTE class, we still have some courses that are transcripted or articulated, right?
True, and it's also in the program of study.
Program of study, okay, and they're all in one place?
Yeah,
it is.
Awesome, okay, great, thank you very much.
We did the partnership so that we have another opportunity to bring students to a college campus.
Okay.
So that's the other wonderful experience here, is that some of our kids have never been to CSM, have never been on that campus, and for the college, it gives them the opportunity to showcase their campus.
All right, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I was just looking to see if anybody else. It's a great presentation. Thank you very much. It's really good. On one slide, you mentioned there's 17 programs at North Point, 7 at the high schools, and 6 at Steedham. And if I can still do math, that's 30. And then another slide, you said there was 28 high school completer programs. So maybe my real question is if you could define what a completer program is.
Sure. So there's a little bit of transition here because one, we're always looking at this is a couple of programs that we need to update, programs that maybe need to be removed, and programs that need to be added. So that's a constant annual audit of all the programs that we do. So that number is in flex. However, when we're looking at Academy of Health is a perfect example. And in our PQI data, our Program Quality Index data that we receive annually from the state, Academy of Health is listed as one program. However, we have 3 Academy of Health. We have CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant, Physical Rehabilitation, and then Pharm Tech. So just this year, through all the work that we've been doing, aligning all of our programs to the Maryland course codes, we audited all 28 of our programs, and so there we're able to break them out. So that number is in flex, but
Automotive technology as well is at Steedham and North Point.
Perfect, yeah.
Just little stuff.
So thank you. And just for public's knowledge, you can go to the CCBOE website, ccboe.com/CTE, and there's more information there that talks about everything you just said. So again, very good presentation. I just want to say, and you kind of alluded to it, you can graduate with something that gets you to the next level. As we all know, learning never stops. So, not even when you graduate from college, if you want to go further in your career, a lot of times you have to study more. So, but this is a great basis for people to get off and, into the workforce.
Is stackable credentials, value-added options, and that's ultimately what we look for in every single program, multiple opportunities to provide a value-added or a stackable credential.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
I would like to congratulate you on several accounts. First of all, the presentation was very comprehensive. I want to congratulate you on the grant because $150,000 was obviously at the top level, so kudos to you. I've been interested in that CASE program for a while, so I'm glad to see that that's coming on board. Also, 100% certification, that is not easy to achieve. So that's 100% certification for the site, 100% certification for the teacher as far as their industry credentials are concerned, 100% as far as their teaching credentials are concerned. I'm not sure that many people know that the CTE teachers have to have dual certification. They have to have their industry certification and they have to have their education certification. So that is a major feat. Congratulations. That is awesome. The other thing I wanted to congratulate you on is your Kerwin presentation. I've heard all about that. I am on the ad hoc committee at MABE, and it was mentioned that you presented to the CTE subcommittee. That is an honor. I hope they listened to what you had to say, because right now I'm not real impressed with the Kerwin Commission's overview of what CTE is in this state. The other thing I wanted to ask you is on your slide where you had the codes for the benchmarks that are held accountable for CTE. You have 1S1, 1S2, et cetera, et cetera. Is there a way for the community to actually access that data? Because I don't see a link to get to that data.
There is, and I can provide it. It's a public link provided through the Maryland State Department of Education. It's mdctedata.org, and through that you'll be able to go and you choose Charles County, and you can choose data that goes all the way back to 2010, and you can look at our benchmarks, our targets as a county, and then see how the progression.
But does it show by program or just the county?
It doesn't show by program. That's our individual program quality index. It shows by overall.
The overall, okay. And then my last question to you is, when I was at the LAC meeting, you handed out this accomplishment sheet. Can you get that posted so that the board members can see everything that has been done?
Yes.
On the board docs?
Absolutely. And like I mentioned at the LAC, though, that is just it's pretty much impossible to go and list all the accomplishments of all programs, K through 12, on that list. But that is a pretty comprehensive list. So
I think
we'll
the
definitely
board
share
members would like to see that.
Okay.
So.
Ms. Pelko, you brought up a good point that brings us back to why we need to retain our teachers. And they do such a great job providing professional development, because when we lose one of our highly skilled teachers, it really causes a hardship to find someone and train them in the experience. So providing all of the wonderful leadership and professional development is so important to retain our teachers and keep them here and happy.
Okay. Thank you very, very much.
Great job. Thank you.
Okay, we have student services update.
Kathy. Come on. I think I'm going to go behind. I'm going to let you have my chair. You can introduce yourself. You go right here. Thank you for coming today. Appreciate it. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Kiesling.
Good afternoon. I'm Kathy Kiesling. I'm the Director of Student Services. I want to thank the board for the opportunity to describe some of the various services that our department offers. I have two members of our team that are here that will be presenting. Alicia Jones is the supervisor for the school counselors in the county, and she will present information about the school counseling programs at each level, elementary, middle, and high. And then Dr. Blanchard, our supervisor of school psychologists, will give a short presentation on the services the psychologists provide. We also have two guests with us today. Ms. Julie Walton, she is the director of the Charles County Community Mediation Center out of the College of Southern Maryland, and her program is available to provide much needed services to all members of our community. And then Kathy Myers at the end. She is of the Center for Children director, and she will be giving a short presentation about her services to us as well. So we're going to start with Alicia Jones.
Okay. Good afternoon. I would like to first share with you how our school counseling program meets the recommendations of the American School Counselor Association. The American School Counselor Association recommends that school counselors in a comprehensive school counseling program spend 80% or more of their time providing direct and indirect counseling services to students and 20% of our interaction with students for program management and school support services. Now, direct counseling services are the in-person interactions between counselors and students that may be delivered through classroom guidance meetings, individual and responsive services. Indirect counseling services are the counseling services that are delivered by school counselors on behalf of a student as a result of the direct interactions that we have, such as making referrals, consulting, and collaborating with others for a student. Now, what does that look like in an elementary school? Elementary school counselors deliver direct counseling services to students each month through several ways. The first way they deliver classroom, school counselors in the elementary, they deliver classroom guidance lessons each month. The lessons are themed. Example of some of the lessons this year so far. The month of September focuses on safety, Charles County safety procedures. This month, October, is focusing on bullying. Next month in November, this is very important, this is going to focus on ways to keep safe. And that is a big issue for us. And we're making sure it's delivered by a school counselor, as well as in January and February, college awareness and career awareness. Also, the curriculum that we're delivering in school counseling in the elementary setting, we're using the second step curriculum, which is a research-based curriculum that offers us an opportunity to provide social emotional learning activities for our students, such as empathy training and problem solving. These are the kind of lessons that are delivered directly to students with the interaction with the school counselor in the classroom. Now, counselors deliver direct services through group counseling. Group counseling typically starts during the month of October. We give ourselves a chance to get to know the students and see which students are appropriate for our groups, but the typical groups you will see in the elementary that last 6 to 8 weeks are anger management and social skills. And of course, individual counseling is always provided to students directly, to students dealing with grief and peer interaction and behavior. Middle school. Now, middle school setting, middle school counselors as well as school counselors, they also visit classrooms each month. That is a direct interaction with our students. They're using the second step curriculum as well, and I'm very pleased, thank you, Ms. Holstein, for spending the money to purchase all of every grade level I have from K through 8 of the second step curriculum. And I trust this curriculum because it uses social emotional learning. Once again, in the middle schools, counselors are able to go into classrooms and teach our students empathy and communication and also problem solving skills. In the middle school, counselors are providing direct service with group counseling. Now, the group counseling in the middle school, same thing, dealing with behavior, organization, but there's a new thing now, self-regulating, helping our kids learning how to regulate and respond when they're interacting in a conflict with others. And of course, in the middle school counseling setting, my middle school counselors, they're providing individual counseling. That is another way we're providing direct interaction with the student. As far as grief, peer interaction, and disciplinary problems. Now, the high school, this is the area I really want to get to today. High school is that tricky area. Everyone's like, what's going on with high school counselors? How are they providing direct service? Well, I just want you to know, high school counselors provide direct counseling service to our students through grade level presentation. They're delivering classroom meetings with our students by grade level. Each quarter, we have already designated what they're delivering when they go into the classroom. First quarter, of course, safety. The Charles County Public Schools safety procedures and how to keep our students safe and know how we're here to keep them safe and how they can keep themselves safe. Second quarter, we're using a program that I got from California dealing with healthy and unhealthy relationships. Every high school student needs to know what is healthy and what is unhealthy. Third quarter, guess what? It's course selection. That is direct. That's where we're providing academic advisement with our students, getting them ready for course selection. And of course, in fourth quarter, when we go into the classrooms on the high school setting, we're dealing with career exploration. We're making sure our students are using career cruising, and that is a program that's aligned with the CTE program to help our students find out what career area that they're interested in. Now, this is something new. Now, individual counseling in a high school setting is very, very difficult because they have so many other activity, orientations and PSATs and all kind of things going on. But new this year, high school counselors are following a timeline that requires them to meet one-on-one with every graduating senior by September 30th. And then this month, the month of October, they're meeting with every junior, individual meeting. So some counselors about grade level and some counselors about alphabet, but they're all responsible for meeting with every student, a one-on-one meeting, not a group activity like the classroom. We're providing direct one-on-one interaction with our high school students. So every junior will be met by a counselor, meeting with them by November 15th, and every freshman will have a one-on-one meeting with their school counselor by December 15th, and every sophomore. Now, what does this meeting look like? This requires individual meeting with the students. Counselors are able to sit personal conversation about graduation requirements. What are your career goals? What are you interested in? What do you do after school? What kind of things? It's the personal connection that our students need through those one-on-one interactions. And this is also a direct interaction. So our direct interaction is meeting the recommendation from the American School Counselors Association, because they expect us to do 80% of direct services. It looks different in different settings because all of us are responsible as school counselors to do individual counseling, group counseling, but we're also important to go in and do those whole group where you're able to reach a larger group. But we're also providing in a high school setting now, we're making sure our high school counselors are required to meet with every grade level student individually and review with them personally what is going on. How are your courses going so far this year? What are you interested in next year? Of course, the counselors are kind of a little mad at me because of the timeline, because of course they have other activities they're trying to get done. But you know what? The priority is still meeting with that student face to face. And every student deserves that throughout 4 years of high school. And by the time you become a senior, your counselor knows you. Pretty much, I know you, and I'm aware your family had a fire last year, whatever, because you're having a personal meeting. And then the group counseling in the high school, I'm going to close, that looks differently from each high school because it's built into their activity period. And it's really the group activities in the high school is based on the needs of the school. You may have an attendance issue. You may have some kids who need to be met dealing with discipline, some students who are dealing with grief or whatever the high school area is looking for. But that is how we provide direct service to our students. And I really wanted you to see how counselors have direct interaction with students and what it looks like from elementary, middle, and high, and also how we're really narrowing it down in that high school years by requiring high school counselors to meet with every grade level in a face-to-face meeting. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk a little bit about school psychology services here in Charles County, specifically a little bit about the expansion of school psychology services. We've received expansion positions over the years. And what's driving that? Obviously, I'm biased. I'm going to say we absolutely need school psychologists everywhere, of course, right? But don't just listen to me. I ask our school psychologists every year to do a needs assessment with our building principals. And so in their building, they'll go to their principal and ask some questions about, what do you need from school psychologists? What kinds of services can they bring to your building that are essential for the function of your building? And the number one response we get is, we need more of you. We have to have school psychologists in our buildings in order to meet the behavioral and social emotional needs of our students. It's essential to help us educate our students. So don't just take it from me, take it from our building principals. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what we've done with these expansion positions. So, good, it's already been clicked for me. So what I've tried to bring to school psychology is really an emphasis on direct service and behavioral consultation. Obviously, our school psychologists do testing of students for special education services. Obviously, that's an important role of the position, but what I'm trying to do is increase it more into direct services behavioral consultation to meet all the needs of our students in our schools. School psychologists are heavily involved in many school-based teams and initiatives that are taking place. There's quite a bit of need for crisis response. You'll see some numbers in a minute. Both risk for suicide and threat-based assessments, and those numbers are on the rise. And I'll explain a little bit why I think that may be the case. And they're required to be multifaceted because they serve many administrative roles. Some are 504 coordinators for their buildings. Some run their student support teams and so on. But they also serve a very important mental health need in our buildings as well. There we go. So what have we done with these expanded staffing? These are just some general numbers, okay? So we have seen a significant increase in our risk and threat assessments, and you may say, "Ooh, boy, is that good that we're seeing a 65% increase in the need for risks and threat assessments?" And yes, of course, it's a worry, but it also is an indicator to us about the need of our student population, but also that in some ways it's almost like an early intervention. We're identifying the students and providing supports to them early on before more significant issues may arise. We've seen a 70% growth. This is from our school psychologists providing these services in individual and group counseling sessions completed. 68% growth in staff consultations, whether it's with an individual teacher, team of teachers, central office personnel, and so on. 55% growth in development of formal behavior plans for students. There's more and more of a need for that in our buildings. Our teachers are looking for ways to support our students behaviorally in the classrooms. As you're aware, the Aspire program, currently our school psychologists are the team leads for those programs, and they're in 3 of our schools, at Neal, Barnhart, and at JP Ryon. Our school psychologists partner quite a bit with our school counselors in presenting the schools on suicide, parent communication, responding to student trauma, verbal de-escalation techniques, and so on. And 100% of our regular education school psychologists are PBIS coaches for their buildings. So they're very busy people. Some of the initiatives that are ongoing that our school psychologists are very involved with is that the state is now requiring, and we just received some information a couple of weeks ago about what the model policy will be on this, of threat assessment teams established by school year 2019-2020, and we are currently meeting and developing what our process is going to look like for that. Coordination of school-based mental health services for CCPS in Charles County region. We have a couple of our community providers that we're working closely with and talking about the wraparound services we can provide to our students beyond what we just provide in the schools. And obviously, one of the biggest concerns we're facing right now is the behavior of our pre-K to second grade population. As you're aware, those students are not able to be suspended out of school unless certain criteria are met. So then what happens is, what do we do to support these early learners in our school buildings? So we're spending a lot of time now on looking at that and the various ways we're going to support those students.
Well, hi, I'm Julie Walton, and I'm the director of the Charles County Community Mediation Center. I'm here to talk about some of the services we can provide value to the Charles County Public Schools system. Oh, you're going to do it for me? Thank you. Can you hit it a couple more times?
Oh, sure.
So
Here
to
you
get
go.
the
I'll
whole
hand it to you.
list. Oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you.
Which one did you?
So again, we're going to talk about the Charles County Mediation Center, a little bit of the history. We're going to talk about how mediation can help in the schools. Then we're going to talk about what community conferencing is and how it can help in the Charles County Public School System. And then how we're partnering with the Department of Juvenile Services and what the implementation is going to look like. So the Mediation Center was opened in March of 2016, our first mediation. We're pretty excited about it. The center has grown. So I really wanted to bring in restorative justice practices, and that's why we're here to talk about both mediation and community conferencing. We work with many of the government agencies as well as community organizations. Some of them is law enforcement, the courts, Department of Social Services, Office on Aging, and Community Services, the Department of Community Services. We have 28 active volunteers, and we have 1 full-time staff and 3 part-time staff. We are providing free mediation, free conflict resolution workshops, and free community conferencing to all of the Charles County residents. But I really wanted to focus today on what we want to do for the public school system. And for mediation, what we have found in the school system is that most counselors mediate with students, with youth, but they don't bring in the parents. And the parents ask a lot about that. They'd like to come in, they'd like to talk to the other parent if there's a youth in conflict. We can provide that. And we can provide it so that, you know, the counselors and the school administration can say the right organization to fulfill that would be the Community Mediation Center. Here's a pamphlet and you can give them a call. So they don't have to say no, or that, you know, it looks and offers opportunity. And it's a positive statement to the parents. We also we've got some referrals last year. One of them was a mediation between 2 parents and 2 youth. There were 2 young women from high school. They were in conflict. When they came in for the mediation, one of the youth had actually stated, "I hate the other girl." And she said it with such venom. And we continued that discussion. We took them through the mediation process. They realized there was a third-party instigator that was really between the 2 young ladies. And when they were done with the mediation, they actually hugged and became friends at the end of it. So it was quite a powerful thing. So I want to make sure that you guys really know that there's a lot of opportunity we can have in bringing the parents and youth together outside of the school property. Also, we get referrals for custody. And I know that school administration, just about anyone in the school can see when there's a problem with custody. It bubbles up at the school. And you can refer those cases to us as well, because we do custody planning with the parents in our county. So that's how mediation can support the school system. But now, what's community conferencing? I don't know if any of you have heard that. It's a restorative justice practice. And what it does is it brings the community together to address an incident. It brings the youth in, it gives them a voice, they have to talk about what happened, they have to take responsibility for their actions. Everybody, along with the parents and the school officials, have to talk about how it affected them. Then everyone, the whole circle, talks about what do we need to do to make any victims whole and to ensure that this action doesn't take place again. So it's really a restorative practice versus punitive. So what we do is when we get a referral, we assign a trained facilitator. The conferences are held at schools so that the school officials can attend, and then we work with each school to find out when's the best time for them to do that. Participation is voluntary, so we invite the parents to come and the youth to come. We get authorization from the parents to talk to the youth. We get the referrals from the school, so the school sends a referral to the parents. The parents fill out information and contact information. It comes back through the school to us. So we're already talking with parents that are open to the idea. We do all of the talking. We do the intake process, and we talk to each individual that's going to be in the circle, the youth, the parents, the school officials, and we schedule it. Once everyone comes together, they hear about how things have impacted both the youth, the parents, and the school environment. Those who have caused harm learn about, how it affects other people. It's a good learning experience for the youth, and everyone is a part of the solution. The goals are to really understand what happened. The parents always have one point of view, only what their child told them. So this is a 360-degree view about what happened, and the school has something to say about it, the youth and the parents. We want to make sure that that everyone who's been affected has a chance to talk about what happened. The agreement's important to repair any harm and prevent the items from happening again or incidents to happen again. The process really is to allow the youth to have a voice. They need to be able to talk to their community about what happened. We want to make sure that anyone who is a victim gets a chance to be a part of the outcome that is empowering for them. So it's a win for everyone. Some of the incidents obviously are bullying, but there's also assault, destruction of property, theft, trespassing. We can use community conferencing for a lot. It can be at school, but we can also do it outside in the neighborhood. There's altercations on the bus. There's altercations at the bus stop. So we can kind of help with that as well as what's happening inside the school. Also, I have a story to tell of one community conference that happened last year. It was two youth who got in a snowball fight. It was all fun at first till someone got hit in the face. Then it escalated, and everybody's angry now. So they chased the kid home. Unfortunately, the parents came out, and the kids started fighting, and the parents chased one kid down the street in a car. So now we have the parents involved. So we bring them all together for a conference. They talk about what happened. The parents actually were moved to tears, the father and grandfather as well as the mothers, because their fear, talking about their fear of an altercation moving into weapons and having some terrible violent thing happening, is always at the forefront of your parents right now. That's really what they're thinking about, and their fear was palatable in the conference. So they talked about what happened. They talked about the two young men. They couldn't walk to school. The parents, their work environment and schedule was totally taken out of place because they had to drive their kids to school. They were afraid for the kids to walk. So once they came together and they talked about it, they came up with a plan to help the youth understand how to deal with other kids who are trying to instigate and get you to fight. And they gave them tools to talk about, and it was done very powerfully within this circle. And at the end, the father and the grandfather stood up, they shook hands. Everybody, they had the young people shake hands, and they all were able to restart their schedules again, let the kids walk, and that was a permanent ending to that conflict, and that had been ongoing for some time. So that's how powerful that these can be. This is hard to read from here, and I don't think we need to go over it, but it's really just to talk about the whole entire process. So just so that you know that there's a process we're following each and every time. I do want you to know that these are, whenever we take them to the table, 95% of the time we do get an agreement. 50% come to the table. So, we don't make any guarantees, but if we can get them to the table, we find that they're very effective and very positive. So our next steps really, I'm working with the Department of Juvenile Services and the Sheriff's Department to make sure the SROs are in tune with this process. Our biggest mission here is to drive down suspensions and expulsions with the youth and to keep the youth out of the criminal justice system. So if we can if we can have the SROs hold on to those DJS intakes and let us go through a community conference for those incidences that are appropriate. If we come to an agreement, that stops that process, and they don't get an intake to DJS. So we're all working together to make sure this happens, so I want you to know that. And my next steps really are to talk to each of the principals for high school and middle school. I've already started, and start getting them used to this process and start utilizing it. every school I've met so far have a great staff, and most of the time these kinds of things are addressed, but these are the ones that they just the conflict keeps happening and they can't stop it. These are the ones where parents are getting involved and they need to be a part of the process to fix it. So we take on these tougher ones so that the rest of the school can be productive and deal with the issues that are a little bit easier and smoother in the processes that they know. Does anyone have any questions?
Kathy Myers.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I'm Kathy Myers. I'm the director of the Center for Children, and I don't have a PowerPoint. Most of you all know what we do, but we provide behavioral health services for about 4,000 children a year in Southern Maryland, and another about 600 in care coordination and functional family therapy programs in Howard and Anne Arundel counties. We're not full-fledged clinics there. We are CARF accredited, which is required to be a licensed clinic now in the state of Maryland. And we also are the care coordination provider for Medicaid for 5 counties, and then also for TCM Plus, which is a care management program for kids who are not on Medicaid. You can access that if you have private insurance. It's for kids that have been, there's a certain criteria to get in terms of hospitalizations and deeper end system children to keep them out. It goes through a state list. Initially, when it first started, we had most of the kids because we jumped on the referrals right away, but that is not the case anymore. So sometimes our kids are on a list waiting for those services, but it's based on acuity and how difficult the children's needs are, and the whole goal of that program is to keep children out of residential settings. And for most of our kids, that's really important because most of the residential settings are in areas, there tends to be a lot more urban kids in those settings, and our kids learn a lot of things that, quite frankly, is not germane to Southern Maryland. So that's what we're going to be doing for you all. We've been doing this for 4 years in the St. Mary's County Schools. It started as an agreement between a principal and the Center for Children. And before you knew it, it was an elementary school principal. We were at every Title I school in St. Mary's County. And what we do, and Dr. Hill and Ms. Holstein came to us and said, would you consider something in Charles? And we said, sure. We never thought about, that. It actually started as an approach to us in St. Mary's and has only expanded. So what we do in St. Mary's is 1 or 2 days a week at each of the designated schools based on the number of referrals and the number of children. Actually, some of the smaller schools, you would think we have a smaller number of referrals. We actually have 2 days versus the 1 day because the needs of the community are so much greater because of the poverty levels and the lack of transportation. So like the southern ends of the county, the western ends of the county, where it's very hard for parents to get to services, are actually where the higher needs for referrals are. So what we'll be doing in Charles is we'll be providing services in 2 high schools and 2 middle schools. It's a trial process, and we'll have a licensed therapist there who is trauma trained to provide weekly or could be twice a week if that's the need of the child. Our goal is to take some of those kids who are really mental health kids that have serious ongoing mental health problems and assist the schools with managing those kids, but also we will bring in their parents. The care coordination program goes to the home. We can refer them for care coordination. The care coordinator provider will go to the home. It's a wraparound service. They'll have family involvement meetings and work with them on what are all the needs of your child, and that may be other things like, for example, in the summertime when school is out, parents have kids with behavioral health difficulties. A lot of programs will not take them, or they'll take them and the minute there's a problem, they're out. And so we work with certain camps and things to help assist those kids in being able to stay in those programs during the summer. So we will be at 2 middle schools and 2 high schools initially, and it will be a trial year, and that's what we did in St. Mary's. We worked out all the bumps, kinks, and everything in a very cooperative way. We've always had a cooperative relationship here with the schools, so I anticipate the same thing. Initially, for the first couple months, we will be probably able only to take some Medicaid kids, and then once we're fully staffed because of the paneling and credentialing process with private insurance companies, then we will also be able to take private insurance children as well. We can take uninsured children versus a process because we are a licensed clinic in Maryland, but quite honestly, in Maryland today, because of the Accountable Care Act and what our poverty levels are for Medicaid, we have very few totally uninsured children. They usually have some kind of insurance. And we work pretty closely with their primary care physicians. That's part of being a licensed clinic. You have to communicate with their doctors to make sure that they have their shots. We have to find out if there's other issues going on. So there's a cooperative relationship with their primary care docs as well. But then we would also work with the schools. So on intake, there'd be a signed consent form for us to discuss what's happening with the school personnel as well. So, but it would be functioning somewhat independently, but with those releases of information, we'd be able to share information back and forth. The other thing that we have is that we are the Child Advocacy Center in Charles County, which means we deal with pretty much most of the definitely all the child sexual abuse cases and a lot of the physical abuse cases. We have Victims of Crime Act money, so if a child has been a victim of some kind, we can use those resources. It doesn't matter. Insurance is a non-issue for those cases. I'll use the example of the situation at Great Mills High School. We were actually able to provide services to secondary victims there because of VOCA money, as well as psychiatry services if those kids needed it. So sometimes they don't come to the level of law enforcement, or there's not going to be an ongoing criminal court case, but the child was a victim and we can still put them in through VOCA funds. They can't stay in that program for years and years and years. There's a limit to how many months they can stay in that funding, but certainly a funding source that we have access to, and a fair bit in the coming year for Charles County. So we're really looking forward to getting started. We're staffing the program now, and so we expect probably around the 1st of November to have at least the first person in one middle school and one high school. Questions?
Ms. McGraw?
Thank you. 2 questions, but first of all, I want to say thank you very much, because this information was extremely informative, not just to us, but to the general public, to understand the layers of safety and security that we have in place. So thank you very much for your work. Quickly, Ms. Jones, tell us how the staff is distributed. How many counselors in the elementary school, middle, and high school?
Typically, the average elementary school has 1. We have about 4 or 5 that have 1.5. We have about 3 elementary schools that have 2 counselors. Okay. Now, in the middle schools, we normally have 3 counselors. Okay. And then the high schools, we have 4. One high school, of course, North Point has 6 counselors, and Thomas Stone, because of the SAIL program, the number of ELL students there, we have an additional counselor, so there's 5 counselors there. So total, we're very happy to say, when I had to report to the state, that we have, I think, 79 counselors, which is very nice.
It is. Great.
So, to reduce the counselor to student ratio. Of course, the goal is 250 to 1 counselor, but that may not be so realistic. But.
Thank you. And second question I have real quick was for Dr. Blanchard. You mentioned in the state initiatives involving the school psychologists, the threat assessment teams have to be established by 2019-20. How are they going to be different from what we already have?
Well, the difference is the coordination component of it. So in other words, what's going to happen is, I won't go into too much detail, take too much time, but let's say there is a threat that's a credible threat. It's usually the vice principal would be the one who would be receiving that. There's obviously a disciplinary side, but the other approach that's a little more comprehensive than what we do now would involve bringing the counselor, school psychologist, perhaps a school resource officer, depending on the nature of the incident, in the administrator together to make some decisions about not just the discipline side of this, but what are the wraparound services we're going to continue to provide that student upon their return to school, whenever that may be. So we do have many components of this already in place. There's also going to be some more documentation and state reporting associated as well that we're still working through.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Mrs. Kelly?
Thank you again for the presentation. It was very informative, as Ms. McGraw mentioned. Mrs. Jones, the second step program training for social and emotional learning, that was something we heard echoed several times at the MABE conference this past week. And social and emotional learning over the last 2 years at the NSBA conference has been very prevalent in the learning that we were doing. So it's encouraging to me to see that we are already there.
Yes, we're already there.
And that there's the continuity between, you said, K through 8. So
Yes.
we're not getting funding for just a few years and then having to step back and then having to pick back up or something.
No, we have kindergarten through 8th grade.
Okay, so that's,
And just may, I'm sorry,
No, go
may I
ahead.
also add, we also purchased a bully prevention unit for Bully Prevention Month. And then the month of November, dealing with, of course, safety, personal safety, we purchased the child protective units.
okay.
So that right there, you know, those are very sensitive sensitive information that you're delivering, but it's research-based.
Right,
And that's
right,
why I
right.
like it. So I'm very, thank you, Ms. Holstein, I have to say, because she spent a great deal of money to get all of the second step curriculums for me. But I wanted school counseling to have a curriculum.
Mhm. And that's good. So and it comes very recommended, I guess,
Yes.
across the state. And one of the presenters that is from Massachusetts actually was presenting, and she was mentioning it. So thank you for that. I wanted to ask you too, do you see a movement to us using the individual counseling model that you use in high schools to the middle schools?
Yes.
You do.
I do see
Roughly
it.
how long do you think? Because I think that's something that we had talked about, like over the last couple years, as things crop up. We're not making sure that each student gets to talk to a counselor every year at the middle school level. And when we look at the bullying numbers, 11 through 13 is roughly where that's happening. So I was encouraged to see that we're doing it each year in high school. So I'm wondering when roughly you think that might.
Well, this is the first year with the high school. And I have to admit, I'm pretty demanding. I do know I have a lot of things on their first quarter agenda of things they have to do, but to me, this is a priority, but it's a matter of them balancing it. So I first want to see how it goes this year as far as the timeline. And once I see the timeline for high school, because of course in the middle school, you have less counselors.
Right.
You know, so they have more students in their caseload. So it's just a matter of me sitting down with the middle school people and sharing with them whatever we're learning from the high school setting of what it could look like with them as far as the timeline. It's the timeline. Like I said, if you look at my timeline, I'm giving them, instead of 30 days, seniors, I demanded 30 days. The first 30 days, you must meet with every graduating senior, but I had to push out and give them at least 45 days with the next grade level, because I do know they have to go in and do other activities. We got the PSAT, where all our sophomores tomorrow are taking a major exam. There's a lot of coordination. There's a lot of prep for that, a lot going in, classroom guidance, teaching kids on how to be prepared for that exam. So I recognize that, but I'm with you.
Okay.
Good.
That's
Every
encouraging.
student should have that opportunity with a face-to-face with their counselor every year.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Blanchard, you mentioned that Neil Barnhart and JP Ryan have the Aspire program. Didn't we also institute it at Parks? Or are we not doing it at Parks this year? Or
The program was moved from Parks to Neil for this current year.
okay, great. Thank you for that. And last year we heard about the SHIELD program at St. Charles. Is that something that we're looking at expanding to other schools?
We have.
We have. Which
Yes.
schools have we
So
expanded
right
to?
now it is at Stone, and we have expanded it to Matthew Henson and to Smallwood.
Okay, so we're doing it at the middle school level too.
We are.
Okay, great.
It's been so successful at St. Charles that I see us expanding it to all of our high schools in the near future. A lot of our administrators are going to visit the program.
Great.
So it's been very, very successful. And last year we talked a lot about student discipline and the impact that student discipline was having on the classroom environment and the ability of teachers to teach and also to support our teachers. And this presentation is really reflective of what we need to do, because our kids come to school for the most part and want to learn, but when we have barriers impacting them, and mental health is one of the most serious that we see right now, we need to continue to expand our resources. And that's what we're trying to do, and trying to change the paradigm of the psychologist, for example, that we need to put full-time psychologists in every school so they're not sitting in meetings every day. Although that's critical and they need to have that piece of their job, they need to be working with students that need significant support. So as we keep expanding, we're able to provide that. Right now, we have out on some recruiting companies to hire 3 more psychologists for this year. It's a high need area. They are hard to find. As Ms. Myers will tell you, she struggles with the same thing, but our hope is to provide 3 more full-time psychologists to the elementary schools this year, if we can find them and hire them.
Okay, and my last question is for Ms. Welton. How many cases did your group handle last school year?
It was a startup year, and we worked with Thomas Stone and Benjamin Sauter Middle School, and we had 10 cases.
Okay, great. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Ms. Marshall?
Thank you. It was an excellent presentation. There were so many questions that were running through my mind as you were speaking. Some of them have been answered, and I don't want to keep you here until dinner time. Ms. Jones, beginning with your high school counselors.
Yes.
You have given them a timeline wherein they must meet with every student on a particular grade level during that period of time. What is the time allotment for these meetings?
You know what, I'm going to be honest with you, as a former high school counselor, some students, that meeting may be, maybe 5-10 minutes, but you never know when that opportunity face-to-face may turn into 20 or 30 minutes. So that's why I had to be mindful with 30 days and stretch it out into 45 days with all the other activities, because you never know how long that meeting is going to how long it's going to be. But importantly, we need to have the meeting.
Thank you. You clarified that, because I wanted just to be sure that it wasn't a set time for each person. So there's flexibility here.
There's no way to meet with someone individually and have a credible meeting, to do it like just rushing through. No. Students can be called out of the class throughout the entire day. Of course, we're mindful of the curriculum and when we're pulling them out. But when you look at a student's schedule, okay, the student is in PE, and I don't want to pick on PE, but if I'm pulling a student out, I'm mindful which subject area I'm looking to pull that student out, okay? But like I said, it just depends on that interaction and how much the student wants to disclose, because you never know. Just having that face-to-face and having someone there, they may disclose more, and the meeting may take longer.
Okay, this is for a point of clarification. So I am a high school student. I'm in the 9th grade, and I have been assigned a counselor. Will I retain that same counselor for my 4 years at the high school?
Yes. Some high schools are alphabet, and when they're alpha order, by alpha order, that student stays with the same counselor, and the counselors who are by grade level, they follow the student. So if you're a freshman, they'll go with you to sophomore year. My preference is alphabet, because if a student doesn't pass something, they're still in my alphabet. So I'm able to continue that relationship with that student each year.
Okay, very good, thank you. One of the things that is really warm-hearted to me is to see that our students are not simply isolated to the schools. We reached out to other community agencies to give us support and give our students support. This is really very pleasing. Back to the Mediation Center. One of the things that you stated was that with the Mediation Center, which was just established in 2016, you're young, you're growing, we are learning. But you have 1 full-time and 3 part-time staff, and you have 28 volunteers. What's the criteria for your volunteers?
Well, for mediation, they have to go through 50 hours of training. Then they go through an apprenticeship process that requires them to observe 2 mediations and observe with a senior mediator. And then they're trained. And then they can continue to work. And we have in services and training all the time. We believe in you learn forever, basically. So you're working on your skill sets all the time. So we have in services throughout the year that they can attend. And they also can attend a certification process, and they can become a certified mediator. And it's a very rigorous process to know that they really understand their model of mediation that they utilize. It requires a full day and a couple of videotapes, and critique by senior mediators, that sort of thing. So then on our community conferencing side, we have facilitators. We tend to get people who are older, involved with schools or have backgrounds with schools, and have had facilitation experience before. And then we take them through a 3-day training, and then we have ongoing in-services to keep working on their skills. So again, it's a learning process. It's a circle process. Some people are new to that, and we're always working with them. They have an apprenticeship process that's longer because their training is shorter. So we take them through several intake processes, and they observe community conferences until they're ready to start doing it on their own.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Lucas?
To echo everyone else's comments, excellent presentation. Really, thank you for doing this. And, you know, one of the recurring themes that I heard, not just here, but earlier today when we were talking about CTE and what the superintendent talked about in her update was communication. And the thing that it always comes down to, and your snowball fight was a great example, is that people just don't sit down and talk anymore, right? It's all this and yeah, you miss and there's no better way to resolve an issue than to have people in the room at the same time. And just wanted to make that comment. So thank you all.
Thank you all very much. This is I hope that it is it helps the community understand how much the school system is working with the community to put supports into place for our students. So thank you very much. Ms. Holstein, I know you're up next for literacy grant, but I'd really like to have a break.
Sounds good.
So board members to 3:10, please. Kyle, we're off the air. Ms. Holstein, no, yes, Ms. Holstein?
Obviously not.
Adding, contributing to the top.
Folks, we're on the air. Thank you.
So I'm going to sit behind you, Mr. Tompkins. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tompkins, and he'll introduce his team. But I just want to take a moment to also congratulate this wonderful group of people who went after a huge grant, and we are one of the only, if not the only, I'm not sure if we are the only, but to receive the full grant of $3 million. And they're going to present just a piece of what we'll be doing for our students through this money. But I have to say, since my time doing this job, this is probably one of the biggest game changers for our students when it comes to literacy and what we're going to be able to provide through all of this funding. So congratulations. The grant application was daunting, and John took it over, and in addition to his already busy job, he led this effort with this great team. So I just want to publicly thank him.
We call him the $2.7 million man.
And to be more accurate, it would be the $2.7 million team with this. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you. My name is John Tompkins. My day job is the middle school content specialist for English language arts, and I'd like everyone else to introduce themselves before we start.
I'm Kim Hudler. I'm the reading specialist for elementary.
Vera Young, content specialist for high school English.
Larry Johnson, instructional specialist for special education.
Autumn Sokolowski, content specialist for world language and ESOL.
And truly, we worked together as a team because you'll see it's all-encompassing, so no one person can really take this whole thing on. We're really going to start out with what is this Striving Readers Comprehensive Literacy Grant at the federal and state level, and then we'll go into specifically what we're doing for Charles County. So what you see in front is the overall purpose from the federal grant. And you can see literacy skills for not just school-age students, but starting at birth to age 12. So it's not just who's in our schools, but it's also who's going to be coming to our schools. So the whole grant covers from birth to age 12, with an emphasis on disadvantaged students, being defined as students living in poverty, English learners, as well as students with disabilities. All right, so that's the overall purpose. The requirements of the grants are as follows, some of the highlights there. Funding allocations, you can see the breakdown. 15% for birth to age 5, elementary 40% of all the funds, and middle and high school are 20% each, which is 95%. And there's an extra 5%, what we call like wiggle room administrative, or maybe the elementary needs 41%, but these are just the bare minimums of what needs to be spent. There has to be alignment to the state comprehensive literacy plan, so we made sure that happened, as well as Charles County needed its own comprehensive literacy plan. So that's part of the grant, just to get being able to apply for the grant, as well as we have to have cooperation with any national evaluation that will be forthcoming. Priorities, again, this is the state and federal level still, is there's going to be, they call them like extra points for anything that you're putting in that has moderate or strong evidence from the research out there that works. It is getting additional points. That's the priorities. As well as what you're doing, is it servicing disadvantaged students? Again, that's children of poverty, English learners, as well as students with disabilities. As well as what you're proposing to do, is there alignment from birth to grade 5, as opposed to two separate pieces? So that's the grant in and of itself in a quick nutshell. Now what we did, some of our targets is, we didn't just do birth to grade 5, we were going birth to grade 12. So what we're doing for elementary is also hitting what we're going to, continuing into middle, continuing into high school. Instead of having separate programs depending on the level, we thought having the alignment all the way through. And that applies for both instruction and intervention throughout. There will be there's a high focus on professional development, high quality professional development, really investing in our people. You'll see that. As well as effective screening and monitoring tools, and you'll see there's community partnerships. So those are some of the specifics within the grant. And that's officially what we were offered. $3 million sounds a lot easier than 2.776 from there. It just rolls off the lips. But that's what's awarded right now. We're just going into year 2, which is a little weird because we just got awarded in June, but that was really under year 1. So we're going into year 2. So we've been spending a lot of money lately from there. The most that a county got was 2.8. So you can see we're right there from there. Really, this sentence really is the crux of what we're going after. It wasn't like finding a new program that was going to be the magic pill or anything like that, magic beans, whatever metaphor you're going for. It was really, the program's not going to work. We need to invest in our people. Our people becoming experts and retaining them and having the highest PD we can get and paying for that PD and making sure they have the materials they need, that's the magic pill we're going after. It's not a program that we didn't have that now we have to buy to bring in. It's let's get really good at what we're really doing, and that's what we're going after. And from there, here's one example. So now we'll go through different of the highlights of stuff that's in the grant. This is really going after the professional development. We have level literacy intervention. We've been using that in the middle and elementary schools with success. We've been doing our own PD. We've had another company come in and do a PD that we didn't think was very high quality. But in ours, we're proud of, but we know our own limitations. We want to go what's the best out there. And Fontes and Pinnell are the people that wrote the level literacy intervention, and you probably hear their names enough in elementary. That's the Ohio State University. That's the Pinnell and Fontes and Pinnell. That's who we went after to get us higher quality PD to learn from them for the next 2 years, so we are better at implementing this. As well as with reading resource teachers in both in the elementary, middle, and resource teachers in the high school level. The art of coaching is professional PD specifically for reading resource teachers, so they can get better at literacy coaching, so they can provide better PD to our classroom teachers as well. So it's a big PD boost in both a specific intervention, getting it from the people that are writing this, as well as literacy coaching, and that's one aspect that we're going after. And now Kim will go with the birth to 5 in elementary school.
As John mentioned, part of the grant focuses on birth to 5. Before they even come to us, we need to bridge that gap. And one of the ways that we're doing that is we were able to hire a community liaison for early childhood. She will be meeting with the Head Start, meeting with childcare, meeting with the library, in helping us to bridge that gap for when they come, getting them better ready to come to elementary school. A part of the early childhood liaison's job will also be to form playgroups. Right now we have playgroups in our Judy Center schools, but we wanted to emulate those into other schools, and we plan on doing that at 4 other schools in the county. Another really exciting program that we're implementing is Raising the Reader. And this year we're doing it in the 3s to Head Start and 3s, and then next year we're going to expand it into all of our pre-K program. These are bags, and if you look up there, it's the little red bags that the kids get to take home with books in them. The most exciting part about, well, the most exciting part for me is the books, but the most exciting part is there's also a pamphlet in there that talks to parents about how to make those books interactive, how to make them come alive, things that parents can do with those books to interact with their child. And then at the end of the year, they're going to get to pick a couple of books to keep and take home over the summer with them. The next part is when we go into the elementary school, middle and high school, and we have adopted the leveled literacy intervention. In our schools, like John mentioned, we have other interventions. We have phonics interventions. What we really wanted to do was we wanted a really strong comprehension intervention, one that would take us from elementary to middle to high. And if you look, there are tons of strategies that are taught in all of the interventions. And what's nice is there are word attack strategies in the elementary level that follow the middle school, that follow the high school, and they just adjust in rigor. So they're not going to be the same strategy, but as they increase, they're going to get harder. For example, in the vocabulary strategy, they will teach kids to look at known words to figure out unknown words. Look at prefixes. Do you know this prefix? How can you figure out what this word means? And to all the way to critiquing is critiquing the author. How did the author, was he effective in his writing or her writing? Could the character have done something different? So in looking at all those things, we wanted to make sure that our kids that are lacking in comprehension will get this excellent intervention, and hopefully it will, we've seen, well, not hopefully, we've seen huge success in the past, and we wanted to continue and then just broaden our, broaden the amount that we can give to our kids. And now Vera's going to talk about some changes to the high school classes.
Okay, thank you. So we've been able to improve some of the tiered levels of English language arts support that we already have in place. At the high school level, we've been able to make some changes to some classes. We already have a literacy class, which is an elective for students who are reading 1 to 3 grade levels below their peers. What we've been able to do through this grant is we're now going to use the Fontes and Pinnell benchmark assessment, which, as Kim and John had already said, is also aligned to elementary and to middle. What we're hoping from this benchmark assessment is that it's going to give us more data to help us to drive instruction to really help those students to really work towards being more on grade level. Another elective course that we have in high school is called supplemental reading. The supplemental reading course is open to students who are reading 4 or more grade levels below their peers. We will be using the Fontes and Pinnell benchmark assessment for that course as well to get that data that we're going to be using. But we're also going to be using the leveled literacy intervention in that course, as well as the Just Words program. Just Words is basically a study of word structures to help students to be able to access grade level text. And it really is very phonics based. And that's going to be a supplemental resource to use with the LLI with those students. The other thing we were able to do is we were able to hire a level literacy resource teacher who's working with middle and high school. And she is spending the majority of her time in those classrooms helping to administer the benchmark assessments, to model for the teachers, to work with small groups of students. And we're really excited about having her on board because she can actually be in the classrooms giving feedback. Because as was mentioned before, we actually have other jobs that we're doing as well, okay? The third thing, the change in high school, is that we're now going to be using Language Live for self-contained special education classes. And Larry's going to talk a little bit more about that.
Okay. Special ed students are going to benefit from the interventions, the strategies, and supports that you've already heard about. These were all collaboratively developed in the decision-making process around that. The next few slides, Autumn and I are going to highlight some supports that are specific to just students with disabilities as well as ELL learners, okay? Language Live, we are utilizing this program just for special education students. It is for students in self-contained classrooms. These are our students who are more than 2 to 3 grade levels behind their peers. It is a structured literacy curriculum, and so in the era of the new regulation for dyslexia, it certainly meets the bar for a structured literacy program. It hits all 5 areas of reading, and in addition, it also focuses on spelling. The program is divided into 2 parts. There's an online component, and then there's a text-based component. So the students are in 2 separate groups. The one group is self-directed with an online component, and that focuses on phonics instruction. The in-class text with the teacher is focused on close reading strategies, but it utilizes more accessible text. When I say accessible, I mean the readability of it. Students will be able to access the text a little bit easier, but it still focuses on those complex close reading strategies that are a hallmark with the Maryland College and Career Readiness Standards. The company reps presented to the principals on September 12th. We wanted to make sure that the principals understood what the program was, what it looked like. We also gave them observation tools so they can go into the classrooms, they know what to expect, they know what to see, how to evaluate it, and so forth. The next program that we have that we want to highlight that's specific to special ed is Go Book Pathways. Go Book Pathways is an online resource. It is meant to be a supplemental resource to our current curriculum. It does combine research-based practices and strategies. It is aligned to UDL, and UDL is something that requires a lot of instruction and professional development. What's great about this resource is as teachers are learning how to utilize UDL, which is a requirement in the Maryland regulations, they have a resource that they can go to pull strategies that are aligned to Universal Design for Learning. So there are resources, there are strategies. These strategies and resources are also organized by the standards. So teachers will be able to go to a specific standard and be able to find out UDL-aligned strategies and resources and ready-made materials that could be downloaded. For example, they can download specific graphic organizers that are aligned to a specific standard. We anticipate that this is going to be great for special ed teachers, especially as they're building their capacity. We do have a young staff in Charles County. So as they're building their capacity, they'll have this resource to utilize. It's going to help to make them more efficient in their teaching and also in case management. So we anticipate this is going to be used for writing IEPs as well. Those resources, of course, would be individualized for each IEP, but it will certainly make it a lot faster for these special ed teachers to get the job done. Now, Autumn.
Yes, so I'm really excited to talk to you today about a program that we have purchased for ESOL for our English learners. So Imagine Learning well, that's the company. Imagine Language and Literacy is the specific ESOL component of that. This is an online literacy intervention that is going to be provided to all elementary level ELs. We selected elementary level because the younger a student is, the easier it's going to be for them to acquire language, and over half of our ELs in Charles County are in the elementary level. This online intervention directly teaches literacy concepts, specifically concepts that are more challenging because the students do not know English and because some of them have low or no literacy in their home language. So they are working with two challenging factors, and this program addresses both of them together. The program is going to be used daily in the classroom, and this is in addition to the services that they're already provided by their ESOL teacher. They're provided services 2 to 3 times a week, and then this will be daily, so they are going to be receiving much more time with services, and we anticipate that that's going to greatly increase their English language acquisition. So we selected this program for a couple reasons. The first reason is that it's adaptive, so it addresses and acknowledges where the students are when they come to the table, because some of them do have literacy skills and some of them have areas of growth. So it recognizes where they are, and then it begins to build in the supports that they need as they go. It also has strategic home language support, which means that when we register the student for the program, we say what their home language is, and as they are beginning, they are hearing directions and encouragements in their home language, which builds academic success feelings for them, and then they're slowly weaned off of them as they begin to rely on English. So that makes it a highly motivating program for the students, because they don't sit in front of a program saying, I don't know what I'm supposed to do and how am I supposed to do this. So we are really excited about that feature. It's also a game-based program that the students are able to do, so they're highly motivated for that as well, and it's accessible at home. The students have the account for the year, so they can do it on any device that has the internet. Currently, we have trained all ESOL teachers on this program, as well as representatives from all elementary schools. The teachers at the elementary schools were really excited. We had not just teachers, but also administrators. We had reading resource teachers. We had a variety of people come to receive the training. And we're currently in the placement testing time frame right now, and we are transitioning into active daily use during these first 2 weeks of October. So what's really exciting is that Imagine Learning is going to be coming back, and they're going to be assisting us in data analysis regularly. So in November 2nd, we have what they're calling a data dig. We're bringing our ESOL teachers and our classroom teachers back, and they're going to assist us in evaluating the data that's already been produced by our learners to see where are they, what areas of growth do they have, and then pairing that to resources that the program provides for us. So the Imagine Learning is not just the program for the student, it's also supplemental resources for the teacher that can be used for all students, not just the ELs. So that is Imagine Learning in a nutshell. I'm going to pass it back to John.
So, in conclusion, we'll just wrap up with how we're going to measure our progress according to the grant. And so we have 3 different measures. The first one is that looking at the increase of students scoring 3, 4, and 5. Because we're targeting striving readers, which so we want to see how many kids, we want fewer kids at the lowest level, which is level 1 and 2, which we'll see if we increase our 3, 4s, and 5s, that means there's less 1s and 2s. So that's the population we're going after. So that's why we're 3, 4, and 5 instead of only 4s and 5s. So that's one which will cover 3 through 10th grade. Specifically for our students, the birth through 5, we're using the kindergarten readiness assessment, the KRA, and increase the percentage of students ready, demonstrated full readiness from 39% to 50%. And for English learners, looking at increasing the average literacy score as used on the Access for ELLs from 2.9 to 3.2. So we're using multiple assessments based on the populations that we're going after from there. Thank you for your time.
Kelly?
Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. This is great to see that you guys are expanding it. It's great that you got the grant. So I'm sure this is like Christmas for you guys because now you have all these, all these ideas you want to do. I do like the mention, thank you, about dyslexia. That's been an ongoing discussion that we've had. So it's nice to know that that will be included within this program. I had one question where you're talking about having screening and monitoring going from K through 12. In the past, at least for the elementary level, when the report cards come home, we get the little Fonnes and Pinnell sheet that tells you where your child is. Are we going to also see those for middle school and high school? Because I feel like, at least in my experience as a parent, I don't see any other mention of whether or not your kid's on grade level, except for like when it comes to standardized testing scores. So is that something that continues? Is Fonnes and Pinnell even set up like that? Or can you just kind of educate me a little bit more on that, please?
We won't use Fontes and Pinnell for every single student.
Okay.
Starting from 6 all the way through. We'll use that for students identifying needing additional help.
Okay, so parents would know if their child is below grade level, and
yes,
we'd notify them.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, and specifically with, not in this grant, with the reading interventionists, was that talked here?
Yeah. So in addition to the grant, just for the public's information, this is all grant funded. The positions are grant funded. Local money is not being used for these positions or for these materials. But we have made a priority to put an interventionist in every middle school. So we funded that through our operating budget for this year. It's a new program. We piloted it last year at Davis Middle School. Was extremely successful in getting kids closer to meeting grade level expectations. So now we have an interventionist in every single middle school that Mr. Tompkins is working with. And recently, within the last month, we have approved 2 more ESOP positions because our population just continues to grow. And when you have a caseload of over 60 children, it is very difficult to meet their needs. So we have parallel programs going with grant money, but also we are supporting all of these efforts through local money as well.
Okay, great. And go ahead.
And those teachers, they'll be communicating with parents saying, here's where your student is right now, here's the goal by the end of the year, and here's our plan of attack.
Okay.
So, and they're already meeting with students right now, and they've met with parents. When the parents came to open house, they're right there with the language arts teacher.
Okay, great.
So that's how we're communicating.
And I was encouraged also to see the parent involvement with the birth through 5 part. One thing that I don't know if you guys were aware, at the National School Board Association conference back in April, they mentioned that some school systems are sharing their professional development with some of their private preschools in the area or private daycare providers who are having like a reading program because they figure we're already providing the PD. It kind of would ease the transition and maybe lessen some of the catch-up work needed from the school system. So I don't know if is that something that you guys are considering?
It is part of the grant, and
Okay.
they're actually going to be working with the Head Start folks because they're not all literacy trained.
Right.
So we're going to provide PD to them about how to share a book, how to do a shared reading lesson, and that's all part of the grant as well.
Because we do have MSDE certified private preschools in the county that would benefit as well.
Definitely.
So, okay, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
First of all, congratulations on the grant. Just in general, what is the level literacy intervention going to look like in the classroom?
It's not going to be in the classroom. There's going to be people that are doing the intervention. So if a child is reading below grade level and has been identified as needing the leveled literacy intervention, then the reading teacher or the special ed teacher or the instructional assistant will be pulling that small group and doing that intervention.
So I was wondering.
And we try to schedule that during seat work time because if the student is not successful in reading on grade level, we find that the seat work time doesn't benefit them. So if you pull them during that seat work time, that's a good time to be out of the classroom.
At the high school level, it's going to look different. It's going to be in the classroom because the students take English and the reading interventions are a separate class. So you'll see the small groups going on right in class.
And for middle school, as part of the language arts class, there's 2 sides of the language arts class. There's the ILB, which is similar to like an English class, and then a reading workshop, which would be similar to what elementary calls guided reading. And it'll happen during the guided reading time. So instead of doing the seat work, it'll be happening right then.
Thank you.
Ms. Marshall?
Once again, congratulations on the grant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Money can do work miracles, right?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can.
Is there not a statement wherein if you teach a person to read and to read well, they can actually teach themselves? Is that true?
Say that again, Ms. Marshall.
If you teach a person to read and to read well, they can actually teach themselves?
So that's learn to read and
Yes.
read to learn.
Read to learn, yes.
Right. It's the bridge to everything, and that's why we need our kids to be on grade level by 3rd grade, because it opens the door for them.
Okay, thank you. We settled that. Nextly, birth to 5. You're going to have a community liaisons.
Yes, ma'am.
How is this person chosen?
There was an interview process, and we had interview questions based on philosophy and birth through 5 and things that they know, and then that person was chosen. She's been hired. She's already started.
She's already started. Okay, very good. And you said this person will establish play groups similar to the Judy Center.
Correct. And you had down here the Judy Center plus 4 other schools. What are the other 4 schools that you're thinking about? As of right now, and this is just, we're just thinking about this. They're J.P. Ryan, Indian Head Parks combined, since they're so close, Middleton and Jennifer.
Okay, good.
But again, those aren't set in stone.
Good. So by the time they get to 1st grade, they are reading.
Hopefully.
Okay.
They're going to be ready.
They're going to be ready for kindergarten.
Right,
Is
okay.
kindergarten readiness, yeah.
Right.
Now,
They'll be ready for kindergarten.
Ms. Young, let's go to the high school.
Okay.
You have the literacy class.
Yes.
And you said that it was elective.
Yes.
Okay, so if it's elective, I'm reading below level, but I elect not to go to the literacy class.
Well, okay. It's an elective in that it's not counted as their English course, but what happens, as a matter of fact, I'll back up. When students are entering 9th grade, the literacy and supplemental reading teachers, the reading intervention teachers at high school, we meet with the middle school reading resource teachers and John, and we actually look at data as far as students who are reading below grade level. And so then we place them in the appropriate course based on certain criteria that we look at, okay? We also contact parents to make sure it's also on their sign-in sheet when they're signing up for classes. So when I say it's an elective, I mean it's not one of their content courses, but I think we do a great job of making sure that the students who need it are in those courses, with parent permission, of course.
Thank you for that clarification.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Thank you all very much, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Great job.
Mr. Heim?
Good afternoon, everyone. I have Steve Andrews, our Director of Planning Construction, with me. We posted the project status update to board docs last week, so we do not have a formal presentation today, but we are here to answer any questions if you have questions.
Are there any questions? No questions.
All right.
Ta-da.
Please note the amount of time we took up today.
Thank you for stopping by.
Good afternoon, board members. This is always an exciting time for our office, and we are glad to report for 6 years straight that we have had and we're reporting a clean audit, a clean financial audit, and a good opinion by the independent auditors. But most of all, this is definitely of course, it's definitely a organization teamwork. But I do need to say thank you to Debbie Hale. Our office has been going through a lot of changes. We've lost a lot of iconic positions, iconic people. And throughout the past 2 years, we have been shuffling around, moving from one position to the next, talking about adaptability. Our office is definitely adaptable, and there are hardworking individuals, and this is their moment to shine. And I am so proud of each and every one of them. And I would like for all of them to just stand up because this is our team and our family. So please.
Mr. Sotomayor, can they each say who they are so that we know who they are and what they do?
Absolutely. Starting with Kelly.
Kelly Shear, payroll analyst.
Cindy McRoy, fixed asset analyst.
Barbara DeMoro, head of accounts payable.
Joe Thorpe, budget manager.
Brenda Zimmerman, internal controls. Cheryl Hurst, accounting assistant, school support.
Teresa McPherson, head of payroll.
Christina Warner, benefits manager.
Nelson Sample, procurement manager.
Carol Kohler, assistant accounting manager.
Thank you very much.
And so with us today is a partner from Clifton Larson, Alan, who would go over the financial statements. So Bill.
Okay. Thank you, Randy. And I'd be remiss if I did not say thank you to Debbie, Randy, and all of the staff. It is a grueling process for them to go through. They all have their daily jobs of processing and keeping the finances going for the school board, and at the same time, we have a team of anywhere from 3 to 5 people at one day, kind of nagging them with questions about the financial numbers. So while trying to do their day job, they're also trying to answer all of our questions. It is a very tight deadline. The deadline's established by the Maryland State Department of Education. It says that you have to issue your financial statements within 3 months after year end, September 30th, by law. Once again, we were able to meet that. Debbie, I'll give a special round of applause to Debbie for stepping in as the accounting manager this year and really knocking it out of the park and answering our questions and working efficiently with my team to get it done. So thank you to all of them. We could not do it without them, and then therefore we wouldn't meet the deadline without the help that they gave us.
Thank you.
So with that, we have a couple of documents. First, I'll kind of go through the financial statements, and then I have a couple required communications by standards I'm supposed to go over with you all. The actual annual financial report is the very large document. I think you had it on board docs, but you also, I believe, have a paper copy up there. Some of you may think that each year it does get longer and longer, and you'd be correct with making that assumption. And that's as we roll out new standards that are actually set up by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, to which you have to follow for reporting purposes. As Randy said, this year, again, we have a clean opinion. The only difference in our opinion this year is that we have what's called an emphasis of matter. We had a change in accounting principle, and what that was the OPEB standards coming into full effect under GASB 75 this year, and I'll get a little bit more in detail with that. We've been talking about it for several years, and now the numbers actually being recorded there. So we did put a paragraph in our opinion that says that was implemented this year. These financial statements are compiled in the hard work of the numbers that are given to us by the financial department and Debbie's staff. We actually are only responsible for the opinion. Even though we assist with the preparation, they do review them, give us feedback, comments, make changes. So again, it is a collaborative effort between the two, but the opinion is actually all that we actually include in here. Everything else is from the records of the school district. I will also say that, again, on pages 4 and 5, we have our internal report on internal controls this year. Once again, there was no material weaknesses or no significant deficiencies that were identified. We did have a best practice matter that I'll go over that we reported. However, again, that's a best practice and not an internal control weakness or a weakness over financial reporting. We had none of those for this year. So I know they take pride in that as well. They should. That each year that we come in and we do a lot of testing of controls, analysis. We go through several of the key areas and look for, we're actually here, we're auditors, so we are looking for mistakes and looking for errors. And if we find them, they would be reported as a weakness in internal controls and financial reporting, which we did not find any this year. Moving on, I'll highlight, I know it is a very large document. If you get a chance, starting on page 6 is the actual, we call the management discussion analysis. It gives a high-level comparison and from year to year, and also talks about the budgetary statement, which is the most important statement. I would be concerned if I was sitting up in your shoes. So if you do get a chance, if you can't read the whole document, at some point read those 14 pages. They do go over a very high-level financial overview, in addition to what we're going to talk about here. So moving on, I'll highlight on page 16. So fund balance comes in and actually it ties over to page 23 a little bit. We'll talk about when it comes to fund balance, it's reported in 3 categories, or 4 essentially, but one's non-spendable. That's just inventory that you have, and you obviously can't spend the inventory. Then you have restricted, assigned, and unassigned. Restricted is restricted by outside parties. If MSD gives you grant money you don't spend, you can't spend on anything but what they tell you. Assigned is items that are either encumbered, mostly are encumbered, or if there's other items such as money that is in the food service fund currently is assigned for food service, or special projects that you all would designate. In addition to that, you have what is called the unassigned fund balance. That's really the fund balance that is not really guaranteed to be spent on anything that has been contracted, or it can be moved around as you all see fit. You do have some internal policies as to how to record that and what it should be used on, and that is on page 16. So you have the health insurance, the contingency, and the capital maintenance, technology reserve, and then that's what totals those 3 balances. So it doesn't say that it has to be spent on those, but that's kind of what has been earmarked by you all as where that excess fund balance should be spent. Moving forward, I will highlight, so page 21, so this is where you see the first impact this year of the adoption of the net OPEB liability. What that liability is, we've been talking about it for years, but it's the other post-employment benefits, commonly referred to as OPEB. In the past, you've had to record actuarial contributions that you would have required to make every year. If you did not make that full amount, you recorded that amount that you missed. If you're supposed to put in $6 million, you only put in $5 million, you had a liability for $1 million. Now that whole liability projected out until benefits would not be paid anymore is actually booked on your financial statements. And I'm going to show you exactly what that number is. But as a result of that, what page 21 under GASB is supposed to do is to say if you were operating similar to a business. So this is all of your assets and all of your long-term liabilities. Essentially what now has happened, if you look down the bottom, it has put you into a negative net position number. So that means essentially if you did close the doors today, essentially in rough terms is you would be in the hole. You have to find a way to cover all that. So it's not that simple just because you are a school district and government, so there's a lot more involved, and there's funding that comes from the county, and the assets on the books are actually the schools, which would revert back to the county to some degree. So it's not that simple, but overall that's a very high level to see what impact would it be if you were actually operating as if you were a business. We'll move forward then. So now I'm going to jump back to page 56 and 57, and this is where you are going to see the full impact of what that other post-employment benefits number is. Last year, for those who were here, I said it was going to grow exponentially, and it did. It is now estimated to be $513 million of a liability. The way that's calculated is it takes all of your projection of what you would owe for benefits and reduces it by what's in your current net position, is what you've put aside in assets and investments. The difference then becomes this net OPEB liability. It also takes into account healthcare trend rates, moving forward, what your long-term rate of return is, and actually, since you all, the way the actuary did it this year is there's a crossover rate comes into play because you don't have a large number of assets set aside, you actually got to use the municipal bond rate, so it actually lowered your discount rate, which then therefore increases the liability. As you go forward, and what they also are using is they're using a 3-year average, I believe, of what you're contributing to OPEB. So if you were to change that, so if it's been $6 million every year, and 1 year you would only put $2 million in, that would substantially lower their estimate, and therefore would increase this liability quite a bit. And where you can see that is, actually, we have what next year's amount would be already in here, because of the way the financial statements are structured on page 61. And you can see just by continuing to put in what you're putting in, you actually, the liability actually would go down by about $180 million. So I know right now you currently have a budgeted amount of what you put in, and in addition, every year you've been putting in extra amount of money. I would encourage you to continue to do that. I would also encourage you to look at the budget and maybe even increase the actual amount you're going to put into the budget every year so that you can actually keep pace with what you've been putting in, rather than kind of budgeting for that 4 and just hoping that there's the extra 2 to put in. Maybe you can consider budgeting for the actual 6 going forward for all the years, because that could substantially change the amount.
So right now, as Bill said, we have $4 million in our budget. This year, we contributed $6.3 million towards OPEB. Our practice is any savings in health insurance that we will pass it along to the OPEB budget line item. Recently, we've signed another contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield where we're stabilizing the administrative fee for the next 5 years. So hopefully we can continue with the programs and the contracts that we have with health insurance, the programs with the wellness program, where people are really helping out the school system and watching how much money they're spending in health insurance that would help us to continue to contribute to the OPEB line item. So again, an organizational effort, and just want to mention that.
Okay. Moving forward then, I'll highlight a positive here that we have on page 77. This is your budget to actual statement, which is actually how you run the day-to-day operations of the Board of Education. There you'll see that while expenditures did exceed actual revenues by $1.6 million, you would actually budget it to use $4.2 million of the fund balance. So in essence, what that means is you generated about $2.6 million in savings this year, above what you had expected. So you had expected to use $4 million that you had saved, and you only used 1.6 of that. So that's a very positive variance that would be in your favor. In addition, we look at the school balances every year. In addition, we do a separate agreed upon procedures when we go and look at the controls over the schools. But included in this statement on page 86 is the balance of cash balance of all the schools. Once again, we'd like to report that all the schools are doing a good job of managing their funds, and they all ended with a positive balance. So again, this amount represents a lot of this money is amounts that are due to student groups. So if you look at it and somebody says, well, this $2.7 million, what could we use it for? Essentially, it's already marked that it's for, whether it be this chess club or a booster club or whatever would be in there. It's already kind of earmarked for those groups, because that's how they actually raise the money through their fundraisers at their individual schools. Real quick, I'll mention the other, the best practice letter that we issued. It's the same comment that we had last year, and Debbie is working on process with it again. But as Randy mentioned, there was a lot of changeover in personnel this year, and Debbie really taking over that accounting position. That this is just one of those things that over time is going to be implemented. But when we come in to do the financial statements, there's what's called the pension, the OPEB trust. You have investments that are with outside third parties. If that information is used to generate the financial statements, but it's not actually in the financial accounting system, it's actually done outside the system. So we've just recommended that they implement a way to actually monthly put in the transactions that are being incurred by those investment brokers, kind of track them on a monthly basis, rather than wait till the year end and just compile the financial statements for them. Lastly, I'll go through real quick our required communication. As I noted, we did implement a new accounting procedure this year for the other post-employment benefits. Significant estimates this year did not change. We have our pension, which is based on actuarial reports, our incurred but not reported claims for self-insurance, the OPEB liability, and then depreciation of capital assets. We did not have any difficulties encountered when performing our audit. We had no disagreements with management. When we performed our audit, there was one uncorrected misstatement, which basically we came across something that we found was incorrect. However, it was so immaterial to the financial statements, it was like 2% of the balance. Therefore, it does not need to be corrected by standards. We had no corrected financial statement adjustments that were made. Management did make a representation to us that everything they told us was complete and accurate. There were no consultations with other accountants that we were told. And there was nothing that was significant accounting practices discussed prior to our engagement that would be outside the normal practice of doing the audit. So with that said, I will answer any questions you all have.
Ms. Kelly?
Thank you very much for this report. So I have some general questions, I guess, for the public to understand as well. On page 24, where the total net position, the bottom line is negative 196 million. Is that a number that we should be working towards zero?
Yeah, positive would be good.
I mean,
so, yes.
well, right, but I mean, obviously, we're not going to be able to do that in the next year or two. But is this something like we should start moving towards zero over 10, 15, 20 years?
10 would be preferable, and this is where that OPEB liability really hit.
Right.
And that the thing with that number is that your number is going to be very volatile because you have such little funding in that OPEB plan. Is that every year, if you were to, again, if I said if you were to not contribute what you said you were, then that number would fluctuate, and this number would actually go significantly further into the negative.
So if we put more in, would that liability go down? Would the reverse be true?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And do you happen to, I know you usually just issue opinions, but do you happen to have like a number that you would suggest that we should start putting in for OPEB each year?
That is something, Rainey and I actually talked about this before the meeting today, is that's something you would sit down with the actuary.
Okay.
And they would, because they actually run the numbers through, because they project out the benefits and everything, to run the numbers through to say how much will we contribute to get that liability number down based on the investments. It's a very detailed calculation, but that would be the best suggestion, is to sit down with them, for Rainey to sit down with them and run a couple scenarios. Whether it be how much do we have to contribute, what if we change the benefits, what if we change the benefits for new people coming in, all of that plays into how it affects that liability number.
So you mentioned the bond rating. Is this going to hurt us financially because of this change?
This will not hurt. What we're seeing is that it won't hurt the bond rating.
Okay.
For the county, essentially it would be the county's bond rating. Okay. But it won't essentially hurt because the bond rating companies, they knew what the number was. Again, over time, what we're telling people is, over time, if you continue to not fund it or just minimally fund it, could the bond company look at you and say they start questioning your financial accountability at that point?
Because your liability is
sure.
continuing to go up.
Yeah,
Okay.
as it continues to go up, because now that you see the number they're expecting, like, are you going to make some changes? Are you going to continue to fund it more aggressively? But is it going to have an immediate impact? No, I would say. But over time, very, very much it could.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Mr. Lucas?
Thank you again. Always very thorough report. Can you just explain the difference, I believe, page 14 and 17? So when you talk, you list a bunch of numbers in different categories, and one of them is GAAP basis, and the other is non-GAAP.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, very simply, that number is the differences in what's called encumbrances, or items that are on purchase order. So for non-GAAP, if you issue a purchase order to say you make a commitment to buy $100,000 of textbooks, essentially for budgetary purposes, that's an expenditure at that time.
Sure.
For GAAP purposes, we come in at year end and say, did you get the textbooks before June 30th? No. Okay, that really was an expenditure for this year. That's going to be an expenditure next year. And it goes into next year. So that difference right there is essentially, there's about a swing between last year's encumbrances and this year's encumbrances of approximately $3 million.
Okay. So how, That's why that's the same. Okay. So for things that are all under salary, those numbers should be the same. Is that a fair statement, more or less? I mean, for salaries, I mean, I think of that as just,
Every 2 weeks.
yeah, I mean, that
Yeah, you have
you're not
some-
waiting for anything unless perhaps you're waiting to pay somebody and it goes into the next fiscal year. There might be some small amounts.
Yeah, there is some slight variance there between GAAP and non-GAAP with regards to the summer pay, but very, very minimal. For general terms, the salaries would be the same.
Okay. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out, correct me if I'm wrong, our fund balance decreased?
Fund balance, yes, on page 16.
Right.
So what you're looking at on page 16
Right,
is
600,000.
the GAAP basis, and we did reduce it by $618,000. If you look
Okay.
at it from a non-GAAP basis, page 17, we reduced it by $1.6 million.
Okay. Thank you.
I do want to say, though, that I like working with Bill Early. He puts things in layman's terms. And so this OPEB situation is extremely, extremely difficult. There's a lot of variables. And so he basically just told me, look, if you have a mortgage payment and you missed your mortgage 1 month, then that missed mortgage payment would be a liability. Now, we're going to take your entire mortgage, whatever your house is worth, and recognize it as a liability now. And so that is the difference. In layman's terms. That's the difference between what happened in OPEB and what the new GASB standards are. So just to answer Ms. Kelly's questions, that $196 million, I mean, that's not only what our assets are, because yes, we hold the assets,
right,
but it's also this liability, this actuarial liability
right,
that we have. And it's nothing, as you pointed out, it's nothing new. You've been telling us this every year. At the end of the day, we could spend millions of dollars and all it would change a number on a paper, and no one in the system would recognize that we spent that money. So
True. Down the road, you're going to have an issue as that continues to grow.
And as you pointed out, we're not the only people that are in that situation.
Correct. It is more unique to governments. You don't typically see on the commercial side of things that other person employment benefits are offering. And you do see governments moving to the trend of not offering those retirement benefits, or at least paying 50-50 or even subsidizing even less. So you are seeing a trend start to move just as the cost continues to rise of healthcare.
Sure.
So your benefits is played out, recruitment, right? You have a good package, we have good benefits, we just adjusted our salaries. So if we do make any changes to the benefits, we have to go through the negotiations, and that's just something we need to juggle.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very, very much. Okay, we have unfinished business. New business? Future agenda items. Okay, well, that was easy. All right, how about we're on break till 4:30? Kyle, we're off the air. Good afternoon. All right, we have 2 resolutions for this month that we are going to recognize. Oh, there you are, Miss McLaughlin. I'm looking all over. I didn't see you. Okay, we have American Education Week, and accepting that resolution is going to be Linda McLaughlin, and Mr. Lucas is going to read the resolution.
American Education Week. Charles County Public Schools will celebrate American Education Week November 12th through the 16th, 2018. American Education Week highlights the importance of bringing together educators, school staff, parents, students, and communities in a unified effort to build a great public school system. We hope you will join in the system-wide efforts to recognize those individuals who make a difference in our public schools. Now be it resolved that a copy of this resolution be inserted in the minutes of the October 9, 2018 board meeting by order of the Board of Education of Charles County this 9th day of October 2018. And it's signed Kimberly A. Hill, Superintendent of Schools, and Barbara L. Palco, Chairman.
Ms. McLaughlin.
Up here, so you can take a picture. Yes, please. Excuse me, Christian.
Lighting is best there, yeah? Works for me. Okay, I'm gonna take two, okay?
I want a picture back here.
Behind the scenes.
No, no, they're good. One more. Thank you.
It reminds me of something. It reminds me of something too.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we now we have the resolution for American Freedom Week. And accepting, we have from the Army Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Xavier Winford, who is a senior at Maurice J. McDonough High School. And we have Air Force Cadet Major Sidney Bolton, who is a senior from North Point High School. And I think Ms. Kelly is reading the resolution.
American Freedom Week. Charles County Public Schools will celebrate American Freedom Week November 11th through 17th, 2018. During the week, schools will give special recognition to those who serve the country and those who gave their lives to preserve America's liberty. Special activities will be held in all schools to honor and celebrate patriotism. The Board of Education of Charles County recognizes the importance of promoting and educating students about the significance of American history, the people who have served the country, and the symbols of the country's freedom. The resolution encourages students, teachers, parents, staff, board members, and other members of the community to participate in the school system's joint activities. Now be it resolved that a copy of this resolution be inserted in the minutes of the October 9th, 2018 board meeting by order of the Board of Education of Charles County this 9th day of October 2018. Signed, Kimberly A. Hill, Superintendent of Schools, and Barbara S. Palco, Chairman.
Right there is perfect. Go ahead and stop and stand close. Okay. Big smiles. I'm going to snap with you, so keep your smiles. Awesome. One more. Awesome. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
Good evening, Board Chairman Palco, board members, Dr. Hill, and staff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the moment that you've been waiting for. The real reason why we are here, why we do what we do. We have assembled this evening to recognize a small sampling of the greatness we have in the young people we serve. Tonight, I'm pleased to present to you 4 students who have been identified by their school principals as exemplary student models in the following areas: academic achievement, personal responsibility, and career readiness. Students being recognized this evening are Cassidy Birch, 12th grader from Thomas Stone High School; Evan Yake, 8th grader from General Smallwood Middle School; Simon Dean, 5th grader from William A. Diggs Elementary School; and Julia Taboga, 5th grader from J.P. Ryon Elementary School. These outstanding students will be recognized in this order by their school principals. Please welcome to the microphone principal from Thomas Stone High School, Mr. Charlton, Mr. Michael Charlton.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. Cassidy Birch is a 12th grade student at Thomas Stone High School and is being recognized in the area of academic achievement. She has a weighted 4.3 cumulative GPA and is currently ranked 6th in her class. She has spent her 4 years at Thomas Stone continually challenging herself, and by the time of graduation in June, she will have successfully completed 12 honors level classes and 6 advanced placement courses. She is also participating in dual enrollment, attending college courses at CSM while completing her senior year. Cassidy manages to balance her dual course workload while working for the Waldorf JCs. She has won awards in the area of science, first place in 9th grade, athletics, grades 9 through 11, and art in grade 10, and academics in grades 9 and 10. She has been a member of the National Honor Society since 9th grade and served as secretary for 2 years. She played field hockey for 3 years and was captain/co-captain for 2 years. She volunteers at the Humane Society in her free time. She is a true, kind, and caring person, often a peacemaker amongst her peers. Her future plans are to attend the University of Maryland to study zoology. Congratulations.
And with the pink hair and a 4.3, still the coolest student at Thomas Stone, I'm sure. Please now welcome to the microphone the principal from General Smallwood Middle School. Please welcome Ms. Brenda Tillotson. Ms. Tillotson.
Good afternoon. It is with great bulldog pride that I present to you Miss Evan Yake for our Student of Recognition in the field of career readiness. Evan is an 8th grade student at General Smallwood who desires to be a pediatrician. When asked why she's pursuing the career, she states that she likes helping others and loves working with little kids. She also has a baby cousin who was born with 1 kidney. She also, to prepare for this career, Evan has shadowed her own pediatrician along with taking STEM classes at school. She's had the opportunity to assist her aunt who works with the Salvation Army to take kids to camp. Evan is an outstanding student. She's earned 4.0 every single quarter. She says she is very focused on her grades and always strives to achieve an A. Along with being an outstanding student, Evan participates in soccer outside of school. She plays for a traveling soccer team and has traveled to various states along the East Coast. Evan's teachers gave me the following quotes about her. She is kind, caring, intelligent, and competitive. She has an incredible drive and work ethic that would be impressive amongst most adults, let alone middle school students. Evan always treats others with respect and is very polite. Evan will be a great doctor one day. Evan is kind to everyone, patient at all times, and always ready to help those in need, no matter the cost to her. Her sweetness is infectious and does all she can to brighten the day of anyone who looks sad or troubled. Now, wow, aren't these wonderful words? Don't we all wish that we'll have a doctor like that some days with these great traits? I'm very proud to present to you Miss Evan Yake.
Congratulations to the future Dr. Yake. Please now welcome the principal from William A. Diggs Elementary School, Ms. Debbie Calvert. Ms. Calvert.
Good afternoon. I am very pleased this afternoon to introduce you to one of our outstanding Hawks, Simon Dean. Simon is a 5th grader at Diggs and is being recognized today in the area of academic achievement. Simon has been a Hoxham student at Diggs since kindergarten and belongs to just about every extracurricular club we offer, including Mesa, DI, chess club, and math team. As a member of our Mesa team, Simon is currently working on an innovative design for the Balsa Wood Bridge for the Mesa Days competition. He regularly participates in the annual chess tournament and helped his 4th grade math team earn 2nd place at last year's math competition. Simon also recently began playing the clarinet, which happens to be the same clarinet his father played when he was a young boy, and is excelling in music as well. He says that his favorite subjects are math and science and considers Albert Einstein as a role model because of his work in the area of physics, light, and sound. With all that being said, it makes sense that Simon aspires to be a scientist himself one day, hoping to earn a master's degree with a focus on space science, research, or engineering. Simon's performance in the classroom is equally as impressive as his extracurricular activities. He consistently earns principal's honors and/or honor roll each quarter and strives to be a role model for other students in the classroom. He received a near perfect score on the Park math test last year and credits his father's influence for his aptitude in math. Simon is identified gifted and talented in both English language arts and mathematics and continues to soar to success in all areas. In his spare time, Simon enjoys playing soccer for a travel team, collecting Pokemon cards, and playing vintage video games. The staff at Diggs is thankful that we have had the opportunity to teach such a well-rounded and exemplary student. I am proud to present to you Simon Dean.
And with all that he has going on, we appreciate you squeezing us into your schedule today, Simon. Please now welcome to the microphone the principal from J.P. Ryon Elementary School. Please welcome Ms. Nadine Wright. Ms. Wright.
Good afternoon. At J.P. Ryon, we pledge every day to do the right thing at the right time in the right place. This is Julia Tobago, and she demonstrates our motto every single day, which is why she's earned this recognition this afternoon. Julia is an excellent student in the classroom and throughout our entire school. Ms. Watson, Julia's accelerated math teacher and Mesa coach, calls Julia the perfect child because she is intelligent, creative, self-motivated, and funny without truly realizing her greatness, which also demonstrates her humbleness and kindness. Not only is Julia in our accelerated math class, she reads, comprehends, and responds in writing above her grade level expectations. Although Julia's demeanor is quiet and reserved, she steps up to any challenge academically and as a role model for her peers. Ms. Watson shared that when the Mesa team last year was working on one of their projects, they found that they were lacking the needed information to complete their task. On her own, Julia went home, conducted the needed research, and returned to the next Mesa meeting prepared to share with her teammates the information she found, which led the team to great success. Julia's classroom teacher, Mr. Curry, shared that when her classmate was lacking the confidence she needed in her math skills, Julia stepped in to offer encouragement and support in a way that was respectful and comforting. Julia also wants to be a pediatrician when she grows up, and her compassion for others will serve her well in that profession. Julia is a member of our chorus, the math team, the Mesa team, and she designed the cover of our school's yearbook for the last 2 years. We're gonna make it 3? We're gonna make it 3. Oh yeah. Julia is a tremendous student who, in her 3 years at J.P. Ryon, has left a lasting impression on her teachers and peers. When I told Julia that she was being selected for this honor, she began to cry. And she asked me if I was sure that she deserved it, which of course made me cry. Yes, Julia, you deserve this honor. I am so proud to introduce to you Julia Tobago.
And another future doctor. Congratulations in advance. Thank you all. Congratulations to you, young people. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Palco, who will likely have some words for you, questions perhaps, checking to see if you are prepared. All right, Mrs. Palco, thank you very much. It is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Congratulations to all four of you. It's an honor to have you here this evening. I'm going to make a few comments about each of you and then give you an opportunity to make some comments as well. Cassidy, so by the time you graduate this June, you will have taken 12 honors, 6 AP courses, and you are dual enrolled at CSM. So congratulations on all of that achievement.
Thank you.
What courses are you taking at CSM?
I'm taking Psychology 1010 and an IT class just to start off and work towards some of the general classes.
Okay. So you plan to go to the University of Maryland and earn a degree in zoology. What do you plan to do with zoology as your major?
I hope to work either in a zoo or aquarium or even like a conservation area.
Okay.
Just to be like a caretaker for the animals.
Well, I can see why you volunteer at the Humane Society.
Yeah.
Do you get to go there very often because your schedule is pretty busy?
Yeah, not as much this year, but definitely been there a lot.
Well, the best of you, as you head on to college, and thank you for being, as your principal described, a kind, caring person. So we appreciate your sunshine.
Thank you.
Evan, you want to help people, you choose to be kind, you're caring, and you're very patient. And you also had the opportunity to shadow your pediatrician. So share with us, what was a day like in the life of a pediatrician?
It was very busy, but also like really laid back. She had a schedule of when everyone was coming, so she knew when everyone would be there, and she just was very organized and had everything set out and like knew what she was going to do. So it was just like a really cool opportunity to see everyone and see what her daily life was.
I bet that was. I bet that was a huge learning experience. So that's awesome. So I would like to thank you. I'd like to thank you for sharing your sunshine with everyone. It appears that the description from you is that you are a very positive, caring, kind person as well. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Simon, you are also very busy. You belong to every extracurricular club that there's offered at Diggs. Well, I mean, good for you. And as a former science teacher, I'm excited that math and science, of course, are your favorite subjects. What is it about light and sound that you find so interesting? I understand that that's some of your favorite things to study.
I like light and sound because I like the way of, I like to think of sometimes how I could, if I traveled around the speed of light, what things would look like. Because if you are traveling around the speed of light, it's gonna look very weird. And I just like how light affects everything we see, and how sound describes a lot of the things that we know are there.
I can see how you're going to be a research scientist. I would like to share with you. Ms. McGraw and I were at an event, and I think Mr. Lucas was also there, and we had the opportunity to listen to someone who graduated from Lackey High School who has become a research scientist, and we're very proud of all that he shared. So I wish you the absolute best as you become a research scientist. And there's one last question I'd like to ask you, though. Vintage video games. What vintage games do you like?
I like some of the story-based games, kind of like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy, but I also like some of the other games that are strategy, like Tetris and Clax.
Okay, well, I recognize one name there, but I was thinking vintage. I might recognize a few more. It's very nice to meet you. Thank you for being here today. Julia, you also want to be a pediatrician, and you enjoy helping others, and you show compassion to others. All four of you are just have that choose kind, just part of who you are. That's awesome. So it's very obvious why you were chosen as to be recognized for personal responsibility. But as someone who wants to be a pediatrician, what made you decide to go into that field or to think about heading into that direction?
Kind of because children are so innocent and they should have longer lives to live.
Okay. No, that's absolutely perfect answer. Thank you very much. So I understand that you're respectful and you care about your other classmates. So all four of you are sharing sunshine in your school. So I thank you very much for being outstanding students and for all that you do. Congratulations. So. Cassidy, I'll give you an opportunity if you would like to say something. I'll tell you what, I'll come back to you, okay? Evan.
I just want to say thank you to all my teachers at Smallwood and my parents for always supporting me and always having my back and helping me through middle school and getting me where I want to be as a pediatrician.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Simon?
I would like to say thank you to my principal, Mrs. Calvert, and my vice principals, and everyone who is right here right now to help support me.
Good job. Julia? Oops. There can the lights are.
I like to say thank you to my parents who came here, and I'd like to say thank you to my teachers and to Miss Wright for choosing me to come here today.
Well, congratulations and thank you.
I would also like to say thank you to everyone at my school that helps me to get to where I want to be, and my parents.
Thank you all very much. We have some congratulation awards for you. And parents, if I can just give you a little bit of some parameters, we are going to have our pictures taken with your children up here in the front. And then if you want family pictures taken, you're more than welcome to do that. And there is a sort of a booth set up out in the lobby there for you to take as many family pictures as makes you feel happy. Go. Okay. Let you go first.
Okay, you guys can head up to there. And at the very end, I'm going to take a picture of all four of you. So let them come up, please. Who do you have? Her? Going up on the stage.
Thank you.
We'll get that in a second.
Right in the middle. Good. Hold that. Good like this? Great work.
One's upside down. One's upside down.
Julia, flip yours.
Sit down.
See ya. Tomorrow. Tomorrow? Wednesday?
I went to school with them, and I've seen our kids play. Our kids practice.
I've known him for about 10 years, just playing soccer. Just
like the kids do.
Okay, Miss. Okay, Miss Miles Carvana, we're ready for you.
Good evening, Chairman Palco, Superintendent Dr. Hill, board members, executive staff, colleagues, friends, and family. It is my pleasure to present and introduce our 4 exemplary employees who have demonstrated such a great amount of excellence. Their principals will be asked to come forward and share a few kind words about their outstanding performance. I'd like to first introduce Ms. Gwendolyn Todd, a high school resource teacher at Thomas Stone High School, who will be represented by Principal Michael Charlton.
Ms. Todd has been at Thomas Stone as our high school resource teacher for the past 6 years. In this role, she wears multiple hats, including AVID coordinator, new teacher mentor, ILT member, and approaches all her responsibilities with the utmost professionalism. Ms. Todd is an integral member of our Superstone staff, who supports administration, staff, and importantly, our students on a daily basis. She has helped facilitate PD opportunities, co-taught lessons, provided feedback on student work, and planned countless events for the Stone community. Ms. Todd is the coordinator of our AVID program and communicates the goals and instructional tools associated with the program to our staff effectively and very passionately. Ms. Todd does an outstanding job recruiting students into the program, in addition to organizing field trips, college day signing, and overseeing our very first AVID Carnival this past spring. Her ongoing success has prompted our building to set a goal of being an AVID demo school within the next 2 school years. As part of our new teacher mentor program, Ms. Todd is instrumental in welcoming new staff to Thomas Stone and making them feel supported and part of our family. She is always readily available to provide constructive and informative answers for our teachers and operates an open door policy so they can stop by to ask questions about their classrooms and their students. Ms. Todd is an integral part of our instructional success here at Thomas Stone, specifically as it relates to school improvement initiatives and student learning objectives. Her invaluable experience ensures that all our teachers are producing instructional targets that are in alignment with all county and state recommendations. One teacher stated that Ms. Todd is like a great magician that always successfully pulls that rabbit out of the hat when it comes to creating SLOs. Ms. Todd is an informal leader in our building in every sense of the word. She acts as a sounding board for administration to ensure the faculty always have a voice when making school-based decisions. She is always willing to go out of her way for anyone and help them with any task. Ms. Todd successfully puts on a happy face every day and is our Stone cheerleader when we really need her most. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ms. Todd. I'd like to now introduce Ms. Elizabeth Adams, a language arts teacher from General Smallwood Middle School, who will be represented by Principal Brenda Tittleson.
Good afternoon. It is once again with great bulldog pride that I present to you Miss Elizabeth Adams as our exemplary employee from General Smallwood. Ms. Adams has been a loyal part of the Smallwood family for all of her 18 years in Charles County Public Schools. As a 7th grade language arts teacher, she is best known for her high expectations for all of her students, her popular lunch bunches, along with dressing up in character to bring her novels alive in the classroom. While giving up her lunchtime, students have the opportunity to watch movies related to novels, have literary discussions, and receive assistance in the language arts content. We know all good teachers continue to grow professionally. Ms. Adams continues to grow by participating in gifted, AVID, restorative practices, and FAME training. She is passionate about her commitment to her own personal growth along with the students at our school. Not only is Ms. Adams an outstanding committed teacher, what I have been most impressed by is her developing into a school leader at Smallwood. She is currently the Language Arts Department Chair, Restorative Practice Leader, along with co-chair of our School Equity and Diversity Committee. She works to keep our school a family as she leads the supper club that many staff members participate in outside of work hours. She's a valuable asset to our staff along with our students. So I am very proud to present to you Miss Liz Adams.
Great job, Ms. Adams. I'd like to now introduce Ms. Natalie Wagner, who is a 5th grade teacher from William A. Diggs Elementary School, who will be represented by Principal Debbie Calvert.
I am very, very pleased to introduce to you a fantastic 5th grade teacher from William A. Diggs, Miss Natalie Wagner. Miss Wagner is not only an exemplary teacher in this county, but she was also an excellent student. She is a product of Charles County Public Schools, having attended Malcolm Elementary, John Hanson and Pickawexon Middle Schools, and La Plata High School. She earned her associate's degree from the College of Southern Maryland and received both her bachelor's and master's degrees from Towson University. Her decision to become a teacher was made long before she earned those degrees. Ms. Wagner says that she knew she wanted to be a teacher forever, making her sister play school with her often when they were children. She credits her 2nd grade teacher as being an inspiration for her, noting that Miss Spencer loved each and every one of us, and Ms. Wagner carries that theme of relationships into her classroom every day. Knowing her students and showing that she cares about them is of utmost importance to Ms. Wagner. She believes that this is the foundation on which all learning rests. As a result of her philosophy, she sees a tremendous amount of growth in the students as measured by county and state assessments. She states that she is motivated by watching the students grow and loves to see their smiles when they feel successful. Ms. Wagner considers the school her sanctuary. She loves her team, and together they plan lessons, analyze data, and find new ways to teach and reach all of their students. Beyond the classroom, Ms. Wagner is our synergy coordinator and a valuable resource for all of our teachers. She enjoys presenting at school-wide and county-wide staff development and is always searching for new and innovative ways to instruct students. She enjoys working with students at all levels, and last year received a CCAC award for outstanding contributions to the academic achievement and personal growth of children with special needs. This year, Ms. Wagner applied for and was accepted as a National Board Teacher candidate and is currently pursuing certification in the area of early and middle childhood literacy. Ms. Wagner is truly an inspiration and a role model for all of the staff and students in our building. I am proud to present to you Ms. Natalie Wagner.
Congratulations, Ms. Wagner. Our final exemplary employee for this evening is Ms. Sarah Kalikovich, a reading recovery teacher from J.P. Ryon Elementary School, who will be represented by Principal Thaddean Wright.
Every child anticipates greatness, yet experience and research tells us lower achieving students are unlikely to become even average readers without intensive teaching. Please let me introduce you to Mrs. Sarah Kalikovich, who is our reading recovery teacher at J.P. Ryon. Mrs. Kalikovich lives and breathes this belief every day. Mrs. Kalikovich has been a teacher at JP Ryan for 12 years, 6 of the years as a special education teacher, and the last 6 years as our reading recovery teacher. Mrs. Kalikovich creates a consistent and rigorous learning environment that supports her students' cognitive, emotional, and social development. Her interactions with her students are warm, caring, and respectful of their diverse needs. Mrs. K's students know that when they are with her, every minute is important for learning and growing. And they just love her, even though learning to read can be a lot of very hard work. We just talked about that today. Mrs. Kalikovich not only believes in intensive teaching and learning for her students, but she believes it for herself and for the teachers she interacts with every day. Mrs. Kalikovich provides professional development opportunities for our teachers on an individual basis and in a group setting as a way to share her knowledge of best reading practices and supports the development of all of our students. Our teachers trust Mrs. K. You see, learning to read is difficult, but so is teaching a little one to read. Having someone guiding and supporting your journey makes it so much easier. As you can imagine, her positive and encouraging spirit, Mrs. Kalikovich is a very important asset to our reading professional learning community, and she has worked with many teachers and staff to create a school climate that is accepting, respectful, and above all, kind. Mrs. Kalikovich supports our Rocketry Club. She is a member of our Ryon Runners and has offered her time and energy to many community and parental involvement events. Mrs. Kalikovich works diligently to ensure that our daily arrival and dismissal process, especially with our daycare vans, is efficient and safe for all of our students. Mrs. Kalikovich has served as the teacher liaison to our PTO for the last 3 years. Her insight and guidance has strengthened this organization. I am proud to recognize Mrs. Sarah Kalikovich as our exemplary employee this evening and a true advocate for greatness for all.
Well, congratulations to all 4 of you. The board and I would like to thank all of you for everything that you do for students, for staff, and for your communities in Charles County Public Schools. Gwen, I'm going to have some comments to say about you. Based on the description, there are quite a few ways to describe your work at Thomas Stone. You're coordinator of AVID, new teacher mentor, ILT member, resource teacher, magician, sounding board. You have tricks of the trade that you share. You wear multiple hats. You're a role model. You're a cheerleader and an SLO guru. Did I miss anything?
I'm a mom.
That's important too. That's an impressive list. And knowing you as I do, I know you work very hard. And the board and I do want to let you know that we appreciate all that you do for the Cougar family. Thank you. Ms. Adams, thank you for your 18 years of service at General Smallwood Middle School, for your work with AVID and FAME and restorative practices. And I'm very interested in what type of characters you portray in your literature class.
I somehow anticipated this question. Well, my favorite is every year I dress up as Pony Boy from The Outsiders. Okay. And the students really, really enjoy that. But I've dressed up as a boxer. I've as Athena, every year it seems to change. So.
Do you make your own costumes?
Well, I buy my own costumes. Yes. So.
Well, thank you so much for caring about teaching and learning, because obviously you encourage your students to learn. So thank you very much. Ms. Wagner, you have 10 years of service at William Diggs Elementary School, and I want to thank you for coming home to teach. That's always dear to my heart. You build relationships, and building positive relationships is essential to being an effective teacher. I'm sure you know that. But you not only foster relationships with your students, you do that with their families and with the DIG staff as being a role model. So that's highly commendable. Thank you very much for doing that. I offer you the best of luck as you pursue your national board certification. So congratulations. And let me see, I'm going to try and pronounce it. Kalikovich, did I say that correctly? Yes, very good. I've been practicing the whole time that Ms. Wright was speaking. So I want to thank you for your 12 years of service to Charles County Public Schools, and I remember when the Reading Recovery Program was first implemented. And I'm still in awe of how successfully the program continues to help students break through those reading challenges. So thank you for what you do. I also want to say I appreciate you spreading sunshine, because I understand you have a warm, caring, and respectful environment that you create for your students and your staff. So congratulations, and thank you all very much. Once again, we are going to present you with some gifts. We want to congratulate you first. We'll have some pictures taken up in front of us here, and then family pictures can be taken out in the lobby. So congratulations once again. You know, I'm looking at the time and I'm thinking, we're awfully ahead of schedule. I didn't give you an opportunity to speak. How can I not give a teacher an opportunity to speak? Ms. Todd.
I wanted to say that I am very proud of the time that I've had here at Charles County and will continue to have. I'm especially proud of the work that I do with my Cougar family. I'm very honored to be able to wear the blue and gold, especially this week, because they are my family. And they make me a better teacher, and they make me want to come in to help support them, especially in times when they need it. Our students at Stone may not always be the type of student that you want to give a hug to every day, but I love giving them hugs. I love working with them and seeing how far they come, whether it's working with one of our bridge kids to get them to pass, or working with one of the AP kids and giving them a high five when they say that I helped them with their free responses. They make my work worth it. And thank you for giving us this opportunity to highlight how hard they work too.
Thank you.
I had to write mine down, I'm sorry. I've been teaching a long time, so I have a few people I'd like to thank. And of course, thank you first to Ms. Tillotson for the kind, and not sure if I deserve them words. And of course, thank you to everyone else here for the support. I cannot truly accept this recognition, however, because it doesn't really belong to me, but to 4 strong women who support patience, diligence, and faith in me never wavered, even when I had no faith in myself. My 18 years at Smallwood began under the guidance of Karen Kunkel, and I will be forever grateful for her patience, understanding, and relentless support. I didn't give up in those early years because she didn't give up on me. As the years progressed, Kathy Perello went from being my vice principal to principal and became more than an administrator in my life. She was a supportive mentor and an advocate for my career, always pushing me to try new things and get more involved. Because of Ms. Perello, I was able to step out of my comfort zone along with the kind encouragement of Principal Kathy Kiesling, a woman whose warmth, patience, and kindness knows no bounds. And finally, I'd like to thank the woman who's had the greatest influence on my life, my mother, Joyce Adams. If anyone deserves an award, it would be this incredible woman who deserves the Nobel Prize for patience after listening to 20 years of lunatic ranting, crying, student stories, and teacher drama. Better brace yourself, Ma, because we have 10 more years to go. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Dr. Hill, members of the board, and guests. I'd like to begin by thanking each of you for your part that you play in my success here in Charles County. This has been my dream job since I was a little girl, and like Ms. Calvert said, you can ask my sister about the hours I made her sit and be the student in my make-pretend classroom. Dr. Hill, you challenge us to be the difference in the lives of our students, families, and coworkers. This is a challenge that I take very seriously. I love seeing the growth in my students throughout the year. I take pride in motivating them to do their best every day. In our class, we believe in the power of yet, that it's okay not to know yet, and that to make mistakes means that, we are learning and growing. We believe in each other and inspire one another to be the best that we can. I'm a firm believer in the power of positivity. I welcome my kids with good morning each day, and we often sing motivational songs like This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. These simple activities help us feel positive and motivated to face whatever challenges come our way. I'd like to thank my Diggs family for this nomination. I've been so fortunate to work with the most amazing team of teachers and administration at Diggs for the last 11 years. Lastly, where would I be without the love and support of my own family? Thank you all. I'm humbled to be here this evening and feel blessed to spend every day doing something that I truly love with the best people.
I want to say thank you. You know that educating doesn't happen with one individual. It truly is a team. So I want to thank my team from all my years. Thanks, Ms. McGraw. Mrs. Wright, my entire JP Ryan family. I did spend a year at Turner, so thanks to my family at Turner as well. I'm lucky to work with a hard-working, dedicated staff every single day. I want to say thank you to Beverly Wells and all of my reading recovery colleagues because they push me and they help me to grow every single time I meet with them. Thanks to my husband, Ryon, who constantly supports me. And thank you to all of you for your support and for your support of our reading recovery program. It truly is a powerful program. Just a few days ago, a couple weeks I guess at this point, 2 weeks into his program, one of my young readers stopped, looked at his book, looked up at me and said, "Wait, am I actually learning how to read?" Wow. I think that was one of the most powerful moments he's had so far because he realized that this is something he can do. So thank you for your support.
That's amazing.
Read the rules for public forum. Speakers should identify themselves. Statements should be brief to the point and limited to 3 minutes or less. Board members should not be expected to respond during the forum to statements made by speakers. Statements should relate to Charles County Board of Education agenda items or any education-related topic with the following limitations: personnel matters, pending or potential appeals, or the comments regarding the actions or statements of individual staff or the private lives of any individual are not appropriate topics. Proper language and decorum are required at all times. We have 4 speakers this evening, and our first speaker is Rachel Perella.
Hi, I'm Rachel Perella, and I'm here to speak about the North Point CTE programs. I'm here as a North Point High School parent to speak for the Charles County Public School students who commit to the CTE programs at North Point, with an understanding that these programs may lead to industry certifications, college credit, increase in starting salary, and increase in scholarship opportunities. After hearing that 4 rising 11th grade students left the Cisco program this fall, and having had my child experience being in said program for 2 years, I began to ask questions that we should have asked prior to the application during 8th grade. There are rigorous processes for entry into the programs, yet it doesn't appear that there are rigorous processes for reporting out on the programs to the public. In a public records request completed by a CCPS communications specialist, I asked about the number of students per program each year that did not return to the program. It was shared with me that CCPS does not keep track of the number of students who quit a CTA program and return to their zoned high school. When they unenroll, there is no information available as to why. I was provided a link to the Maryland State Department of Education website that has some data, but not specific enough. I was told that providing the number of students who pulled out of a program and returned to base schools would be an invasion of privacy. I see this as an excuse, as a lack of transparency, and an indication that it is not a priority to follow up on the integrity and effectiveness of the programs, as well as the instructors who are teaching them. I'm here to ask for transparency. I'm here to ask for data to be posted for the community that shows students the evidence of the success of actual graduates, that they may get a college scholarship, may get college credit, may get industry certifications, and have an increase in starting salary and a job. I'm here to ask that administration uses data on dropout rates per program at North Point to identify red flag situations regarding classroom practices and possible unprofessionalism that needs to be dealt with immediately. Although I was not provided aggregated data, I was able to piece together what I believe were rates of students leaving each program for the past 6 years on my own, with information provided in that report I asked for. If the numbers I received are correct, roughly 150 students have left their programs in the past 6 years. That is 150 too many. We don't know the reasons why, and it's time for transparency. The public deserves to see the data, and the students deserve to be in programs that give them the best chance of success with quality instructors, as well as a data-driven quality program. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tracy Wolf.
Hi, Tracy Wolf, Decoding Dyslexia. October is Dyslexia Awareness Month, and while our local, state, and national governing bodies will offer proclamations and citations for dyslexia, we will also have businesses hosting special events and specific dyslexia workshops. I would like to highlight 2 opportunities, the first being on October 21st, which is a simulation to get a better understanding of what our dyslexic kids wrestle with on a daily basis with reading and writing. Thank you for the earlier mention of that as well, Mrs. Abel. This will be held at the Crofton Library, and the one that we are most excited about is on December 8th at College Park, titled the Reading and Screening Symposium. You can learn all about these by signing up for our newsletter or visiting the Decoding Dyslexia website at decodingdyslexiamd.org, or follow us on Twitter, which is at dyslexiasomd. I would also strongly urge the board to listen to an APM report presented by Emily Hanford titled Hard Words, Why Aren't Our Kids Being Taught to Read? It's one of the most comprehensive and informative reports I've heard highlighting our national reading predicament. It can be found on apmreports.org. Lastly, it was mentioned at September's meeting that a pilot program be implemented. In an effort to get that off the ground, if Maureen and myself can be of any assistance, please let us know. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Maureen Mears.
Good evening. My name is Maureen Mears. As I listened and learned from the presentations today, I kept coming back to the idea that dyslexia, although not specifically mentioned in each, is a common factor of the very topics. The dyslexic student connects the presentations on CTE, student services, and the literacy grant, and each of these areas warrants more attention. Dyslexic students benefit from additional educational opportunities provided by the CTE programs. Many of these pathways allow dyslexic students to focus on their strengths outside of a traditional classroom. Made by Dyslexia is a wonderful organization that highlights the amazing abilities of these students and the need to teach how students learn. Student services are essential to the well-being and education of the whole dyslexic student. Please consider, 1, a better understanding, system-wide, of the legal rights and protections under 504 plans. 2, dyslexia training of school psychologists. 3, additional school psychologists to evaluate and understand the learning profiles of struggling readers. 4, programs that address the anxiety that dyslexic students often carry. And 5, increased access to assistive technology. These programs and access points will improve the quality of life at school. The additional funds and new programs of Literacy Grant will directly serve dyslexic students. Their impact will be even greater when implemented by educators who are experts in the science of reading. Just as the CTE program was able to provide training in computer science, there should be an effort to ensure that all elementary teachers understand how to teach reading. You may think this is a silly request, but the recent documentaries mentioned by Tracy show that this is a necessity. We ask our students to utilize the scientific method, evaluate resources, and challenge assumptions when they do their work. We should also apply this approach to our understanding of literacy instruction. Please consider research and evidence of additional organizations as you look at programs and methods in the Literacy Grant, such as Reading Recovery and LLI. These organizations could be the International Dyslexia Association, the Institute for Education Science, the National Center on Education and the Economy, National Center on Improving Literacy, National Center on Response to Intervention, AIM Institute for Learning and Research, American Institute for Research, Barksdale Reading Institute, Literacy How, the Pennsylvania Department of Education Training and Technical Assistance, the National Center for Learning Disabilities, and the Reading League. If you look at these bodies of work, you will see that you might want to think about what role reading recovery plays, what the evidence is, and is this the best route for our students in Charles County? Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Elizabeth Bradshaw.
Good evening. I have not prepared anything formal, so I'm just speaking as a parent of a dyslexic child. I would like to start with saying that I am grateful this year that my son does have a very caring teacher and special educator working with him. The reason I mention that is because students with dyslexia often deal with a lot of anxiety and sometimes depression. One of the things I would like to ask for is that we make it normal in our schools, in IEP meetings and in the classroom, to use the word dyslexia. I can't expect my child to feel empowered or to feel accepted or to overcome the shame that comes with having trouble with reading and writing and comprehension if we can't even acknowledge what it is that he has. Finally, I would like to just ask that we offer better assistive technology and that when we do give it, our children receive training on it. My child this year is being allowed to type, but has been given no typing instruction. Imagine how frustrating that is for a child who's already anxious. Furthermore, he's being given assistive technology for spelling, but he was given a device that is admittedly by the teacher and the special educator not proper for him. It's an electronic Merriam-Webster's dictionary. He can't spell. So this device does not help him, further adding to his anxiety and frustrations. So I would like to request, in sum, as a start, that we begin to use the word dyslexia and that we properly equip and train our disabled students. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Next, we have minutes. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Who second?
Ms. Marshall.
Ms. Marshall, second. All in favor? Okay, no opposed, it's unanimous. Personnel, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have Mrs. Abel moved, and who second? Ms. McGraw. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. And then we have the FY 219 Comprehensive Maintenance Plan. Do I have a motion to accept?
To accept.
Second.
Mrs. Lucas, Mr. Lucas,
Close
and
enough.
Mrs. Kelly, second. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. And now we have the Policy 3000 series. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Abel and Mrs. Marshall, all in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. And now we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Kyle, we're off the air.